Welcome to the People's Guild.
Each week we explore the Splinterland universe with guests from all across the mythical land of Praetorian.
Join us on our journey as we discuss the evolution of the game, the strategy, the lore, and the exciting path that lies ahead.
To support the People's Guild, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts, and also check us out on PeakD, YouTube, and Twitter.
Send your questions, suggestions, and epic battles in our comments through Twitter or email at thepeoplesguildspl@gmail.com. We'll feature the best in our episodes and maybe airdrop you some prizes.
Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the People's Guild. Another week, another episode. This is one that kind of came out of nowhere, seems really relevant. I met this guy, gosh, what was it, 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, through the Team Philippines. So shout out to those guys. Demore, Mega Mayhem. What you guys are doing down there is very cool, and continue to expand my horizons in terms of what's possible, and the very cool folks that comprise this amazing community that we have kind of built and fostered over the years here through Splinterlands. Real quick acknowledgement, Push and Shove, Aqualis, go check it out. Continuing to do cool stuff. I know Crypto Eater is making a big push to get everybody who's participating in Push and Shove over on Telegram, which is where I guess you memify meme coins. So if you're a part of Push and Shove, you're not part of Telegram, go check it out. There's links all over Discord and Twitter and the like. So yeah, give it a gander. Without further ado, Games on the Block. You just released one of the coolest videos with, honestly, in hindsight, it's such a simple solution, but it's bloody brilliant, man. And I appreciate the way that you approach the game, and you've obviously got the technical skills and chops to kind of back up your thought process and logic and approach. Which of course we'll get into throughout the course of this episode. But first and foremost, welcome to the show, man. It's wonderful to have you on, dude. Games on the Block, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. It's an honor to be here, man. Like, I'm really big fan of the show. I probably watched like all episodes already.
Awesome, thanks, man. Yeah, I appreciate that. I love your videos, and I was like, watching that one. We had with the Grim Darnoon Smith counters, and you're like, oh yeah, I was watching the Battle Royale from the People's Guild, and I was thinking about all this, and you just laid out all the options, man. That was super cool. I really liked that. I was like, oh, hey, you mentioned us, but then also I'm like, oh man, this is brilliant. That was really awesome.
Yeah, man, I really like theory crafting, like coming up with all the builds and everything, or even almost these like self-imposed challenges, right? It's like, oh, okay, like I was trying to, okay, I'm gonna find a counter for every single splinter, right? Like not just like one counter, one good card against. I'll find one for every single splinter. I'll try to do the fastest kill, yeah, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's fun.
Well, a quick follow-up on that. I do want to ask, on the heels of that video, did either of you guys encounter a match where you fully expected the Avina Grimbardoon and therefore tried one of the counters? And did it go successfully or not?
I haven't. That's not, I really don't see it that much, to be honest, where I guess whatever level I'm at, I don't see maxed out Grimbardoon Smiths. The only time that I have had that combination actually ever played against me was Yabba. I somehow matched up against a Yabba, and Matt played it against me, and that was the only time. I was very upset about that. But yeah, that's the only time I've actually seen it played outside of when we like are doing challenges and stuff.
Yeah,
GB?
normally I'm playing back at that time, I think I was playing around in silver. Now I'm playing gold. But it's still like nobody has max, not even like Grimbardoon, and definitely not Avina. So yeah, it just doesn't happen.
Well, and that's something that was a little bit of a wake up call for me. I tried playing shout out to YGG. We do these in-house tournaments, and it's a lot of fun to get pushed into the metas of other leagues. And I tried to pull that tactic because it's tried and true, and it's really tough to beat. So unless you're watching GB's videos, you're probably left with your hands in your pockets and a blindfold in terms of how do you counter this thing. But I played it in a gold tournament and I got smoked because there's no repair, which I hadn't even considered at the lower leagues. But the pair is, or excuse me, the repair is just as important of that pair of abilities with repair and self heal to achieving victory there. But yeah, cool. All right, Hep. Well, I know you were curious to kind of dive into some stuff about our guest today. So why don't I turn it over to you? Let's kick it off with some questions.
Yeah. So I want to kind of know. So you're in? Is it Thailand? You're in Thailand now?
Yeah. So I mean, I was born in Brazil,
okay,
but I have been living almost 9 years now in Thailand. Never
wow,
went back.
That's a long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
What brought you there? Do you just kind of wanted to move, or were you traveling and then just kind of decide to stay?
No, so it was at a point not long after I decided to quit college. I was studying game design in college, but it was like a 4-year course. I quit on the second year. I was like, no, I think I can do it without it. Like there was a lot of fluff there, and to be honest, I needed to move. I was living in a fraternity, and then again because many people were graduating, people had to move, and I was like, okay, now I need to find some other place to be. And I was thinking, man, I don't necessarily need to be living in Brazil. Like I can. Yeah, I think I can do something online and can live anywhere, somewhere else, right? And sure, I was planning like so many alternatives. Like I thought about like living in a van. I thought about like having a bike with a tent. Eventually, like I found out this website called Numbeo. I think it still exists, like Numbeo, where it compares all the living costs and safety of all these countries. And my original plan was to go to somewhere in Eastern Europe. Like my cousin had lived there in Czech Republic for a while, and I was like, yeah, man, I'm gonna live in Europe, and it's gonna be like cool and it's cheap. I can do everything online. But I was doing like some more digging, and because like, okay, I'll just give a little bit of background. In Brazil, we have a lot of influence from the US. Like, so like everybody just want to go to US or Europe, right? Like you go like to, I don't know, a trip to Paris is like the super rich thing to do. And so I did when I started searching, right? Like in these countries, in this Numbeo website, like all these places with the best cost of living, I didn't even know where they were on the map, right? Like it started with like Pakistan, Nepal, all that kind of stuff, and I went to like Google Maps. I was checking, like, man, I don't know this. Yeah, it's cheap, but I'm not sure I would like just from walking on Google Maps. I'm not sure I would like to live here. But then I started going like to here, Southeast Asia, checking like, yeah, Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia. I was like, man, this actually looks better than Brazil, and it's a lot cheaper. Yeah, it's definitely worth to check it out. It's almost like the price comparing to like living in a van or something. Okay, I'm just gonna go check it out. Like I was not planning to stay in Thailand in particular. I was just like, Thailand is just a main hub, right? Because almost every flight goes through Bangkok, and so yeah, that's where I started. I came here to Thailand, but I did go to like Laos, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore. But yeah, I think Thailand is still the best. I really love the country.
Well, for my limited knowledge of who you are, it does not surprise me in the slightest that you crunched numbers to make a decision about where in the world you would be calling home in.
Yeah, man, if I crunch numbers on Green Barn Smith, for sure I would crunch numbers in the country that are gonna make a big move, right? Like it's yeah.
That's awesome.
So
And so like what have you been kind of doing for work in that time period?
So actually I was not really while I was still in Brazil, I was playing poker a bit. But not so much like just playing like in the low, I mean it's not low leagues, low tables, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that was enough. I sold my car. So when I moved to Thailand, man, like I basically like I sold my car and I don't know, just put like two shirts in a bag, and I came here. Like it's not. I was not planning to use a lot of money. It's not like, again, like the whole point is like I had this mindset, which now I feel it's a bit naive, but like that was almost like more money, more problems. So I just want to live like super cheap. As I told, like I was even close to like living in a van. I was okay, just gonna get like a gym membership for like $15, right? Where I have like a reliable bathroom with a shower, right? And then I just need to eat, and then can go with the van anywhere. So, and that's kind of like what I was doing in Thailand. I was not really spending much. Like I was basically like living under like $300 per month. So I didn't need to work like that much. But so for example, with just the money from the car and the poker that I had played in Brazil, like I had enough savings to get by for quite a while. Yeah, eventually I did end up like running out of money. I got a job in crypto though. You guys probably know it's called a GSR. It's a market maker. Yeah. Yeah, that was it. Then like, okay, I don't know where to continue with any more
No, yeah.
questions.
That's quite right.
So you 9 years in Thailand, and you mentioned off air you're in Chiang Mai. Has that been home for the entire extent of your stay in Thailand, or did you kind of bounce around? Did you do some traveling within the country before you settled on Chiang Mai?
Yeah, so I definitely did try multiple. So I tried to live in Bangkok. Man, it's so hot. It smells bad. I was like, no, I cannot live here. Like, I really like Chiang Mai. Chiang Mai is in a bit in the north, so it's not as hot. It's definitely like a smaller city compared to Bangkok, right? But like, it's not a small city per se. You still have all the infrastructure. You have whatever, anything you need, like hospitals, shopping malls. So yeah, I prefer here, but I also live even further north in Chiang Rai, which is definitely like a lot smaller. But again, in this time, I didn't live in other countries, but I did spend. So, for example, in Vietnam, I did stay in one city, for example, for like a month in Da Nang. So, but yeah, but as I told, like all of this, like traveling in these countries, yeah, I didn't live there per se, but I did check around a lot.
That's awesome. So have you kind of always, since you were like in video, went to school for video game development, kind of, have you always sort of kept up with like coding or like known how to code and do some software development stuff?
Yeah, like no, since I was a kid, I was definitely like into games almost straight away. Like when I don't know, since I can remember, I was probably like 2 or 3. I was playing in my grandfather's lap. Like he had a computer and like playing like Prince of Persia, like the DOS version.
Yeah.
There's another game called Load Runner. Yeah, but then okay, I'll just give my gaming background real quick then. So I'll just mention the important games, I guess. So when I was maybe like around like 5, 6, I played a game called Phantasy Star, which is I don't think it's that popular, but in Brazil it was, because I think there was a company that actually translated all of these games to Portuguese, which is definitely not common, right? I mean, a lot of the games back then, like you didn't have any text or anything, but like this Phantasy Star was like an actual RPG, and man, for me it was like completely mind blown, right? Because like I'm I don't know, this 5-6 year old kid, uh again, you just know to stay in the apartment and go down the playground, and all of a sudden you have access to this like alternative world, right, where you can go to space and like use magic and whatever. Like it's nuts. So like that game in particular really opened my mind to like this other worlds options. Then not long after, I play like Diablo 1 a lot, which is like a very big change, because you could like play like online, and it's not even like on a LAN party, right? It's not like Counter-Strike where you play like just with your friends in a LAN. So like Diablo, I actually like play over the internet, like with against people from all over the world. I was like, man, like again, this completely this opens so many possibilities. So there was also, I mean, it's also a good game. I love like Diablo 2. I played like Diablo 2 for God knows how many years. And Diablo 2 in particular was very interesting because it had a hardcore mode, which again also I think is very, it's such a good way to play the game. And I don't see many games doing that. So yeah, with hardcore mode, for people that don't know, like if you die, you lose your character. You lose all your items, like done, period. Doesn't matter, like you've been playing for 6 months, you die, yeah, gone. And you think like, oh, that's kind of like, why would you go through that? Like, are you a masochist or something? But like, no, it definitely like makes the playing experience like so much more valuable. Like PvP on that mode, man, is like insane. It was like my favorite thing. It's like you're going basically like on a duel to the death, right? And only one guy is coming out alive. Like it's such unique experience. Again, it's basically impossible to do in real life. But then finally, I think like the two main games after that, which was like this full MMO alternative reality experience, right? Like was Ragnarok Online. I'm not sure if you guys know, because it was definitely popular in Brazil. It's from Korea, right? But it was absolutely massive in Brazil. I know it was massive in the Philippines as well. I don't know about Taiwan or anything. But yeah, Ragnarok Online, in my opinion, best game ever made. It's nuts. And World of Warcraft as well. I also played a decent amount. Again, I think at one point I had like over a year of in one single character, like 1 year of life played in that character. So yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, definitely those extreme like hardcore modes for games. I used to love playing that when I was like younger, when I was in college and stuff, and I had more time to like devote to really sit there and grind it out. And definitely now that I don't have as much time anymore, I'm sort of like, if I'm going to play a game, like, man, I'm not even going. Usually, at least do hard. I mean, not even doing hard. I'm doing like easy or medium now, just because I just don't have the time, and I just kind of want to get through it and play it. So, but it is kind of a bummer, because then it's fun to like experience the gameplay and the narrative, but the challenge really isn't there.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, there's some definitely. Was there something like Souls? Like, is it Dark Souls?
Yeah, Dark Souls is famous for being hard, but
yeah, I played some of that. Because that was one of those things too, where it's like, yeah, you're like all your items and stuff were just gone when you died. And I did have certain like reset sort of like respawn points, so you didn't have to start from the beginning of it. But yeah, that was a tough one. And yeah, I just like kind of like because I grew up playing on the NES, and that was like, all right, you had 5 lives, and when you died, it's you died, and then you had to start over from the scratch. So you had to, and those games too, like your screen was so small. I got like an emulator, and I tried to play these games. Maybe this was like 10 years ago or something. And like games I used to be able to like play and like beat, like Kid Icarus and like all the different Marios and stuff like that. You realize like these platforms and these sort of like top down, especially the top down scrollers, it's like stuff just comes out of nowhere at you, and you're like, you have to have the whole thing memorized. And so I realized, like, as a kid, I would just sit there and play it for so long that you just had to memorize every level, and like that's how you beat it. And I'm like, that is insane. Like they say video games are a waste of time, and I'm like, man, that like to memorize all that stuff with it is pretty intense.
No, actually, I love this point that you brought up, which is people saying that video games are a waste of time, and I fully disagree with that. Like, sure, it can be, but I think you can learn so much. Like, again, you can learn. It's almost like the best way to learn. Like, if you get immersed into something, right? So, for example, I think that's basically how I learned English was by playing video games, from like talking with people online, that kind of stuff. But yeah, like all the I think you can learn almost automatically also, like depending on the games that you play, like you learn about like logic and or math or whatever, crunching numbers, and also social, again, like all these online experiences, man. Like I've traveled to places just to meet with my guild. I own that fraternity that I was talking before, like two guys that were there, like we met through Ragnarok Online. So yeah, it's such an awesome experience. There's so many benefits, and I mean, now mostly the games is, I don't know, some Candy Crush on your phone,
Yeah.
where you designed to open your wallet like as fast as possible. Like
Yeah.
it's so sad.
Have you met up with Clay? Isn't Clay close to you? Isn't he up by Chiang Mai when you talk? Remember when we talked to him, Jangles?
Yeah, definitely in Thailand. There's a couple of you guys out there. So Clayboy, I think he's in Chiang Mai too.
Really? I heard. I mean, last time I heard he was in Bangkok, but I don't know if he moved or if he's traveling.
Maybe he was just talking about that he traveled up there or went up there. I remember him. I remember because I remember the name and I remember him talking about it. But
yeah, it definitely came up. But Demore is also in Thailand, who I know you guys are buddies.
Yeah, I talk with Demore every single day almost. Yeah, like yeah, we both. I mean, it's quite far, like, but yeah, we're both in Thailand. Clayboy,
he's
again,
down on the peninsula, if I remember correctly, right?
I think he's in the south, but not necessarily all the way down. I still plan. I want to go and visit him. I was kind of waiting for my visa to get renewed, and so and then I can move properly.
Yeah.
But yeah,
cool.
I saw.
Well, oh, go ahead, GB.
No, I saw there was another guy, but I never talked to him. But there was, I think, was in Splinterlands TV. I'm pretty sure he's in Thailand as well, but I forgot his name.
Well, I'm surprised that we've made it so far into the conversation without food coming up. I was expecting things to get going with some culinary interests questions. Clay, one thing I do remember specifically about Clay, I don't remember where in Thailand he was, but he's not a fan of anywhere in Thailand. The exotic cuisine. I would imagine in Brazil you're probably a little bit more accustomed to things off the beaten path in terms of the standard Western diet. How is your mind with and your palate with all things local and Thai?
I mean, so like I love the Brazilian cuisine, let's say, and they do have some weird stuff, but to be honest, not that much. Like, again, we're very westernized, let's say. We do have some, I don't know, like in-house experience, like, so, but normally it's like, really, I don't know, like rice and beans. It's nothing crazy, right? Like here in Thailand, man, I love the Thai food. It's so good. In the beginning, I mean, I could even like read Thai, but I couldn't understand, right? I didn't have the vocabulary, so I'll just go to a restaurant. I'll just point to some random stuff, and I would eat whatever they would bring me, right? And yeah, I tried either unintentionally, right, like just by like choosing randomly, or when I was more aware and going out going out with friends as well, trying like this weird stuff. So I mean, the weirdest I tried, so like here they eat like a bunch of insects. It's not super common, but it's a thing. Like it's almost like have these fried worms. It's kind of like a French fries. Again, I don't care about it. Like I don't like it, but it's whatever. I would rather have French fries. I try like all these like ant eggs as well. Had the pork brains. There is just also like some food that is, there's nothing weird per se, but the taste is so different. So som tam, which is papaya salad. I don't know if you guys tried it here, but like, yeah, it's so like this. It's sour and spicy, and sometimes they put like the salty egg, and it's yeah, it's very different taste. Like I never had anything like that in Brazil, and actually, honestly, I kind of hated it in the first time, but then every time I was like try a little bit and using like with the sticky rice, I was like, man, that's some good shit actually. Like I really like it. But my favorite one is basically like the most basic food that they have here, which is the capau with the crispy pork. It's just this a rice, crispy pork with basil and fried egg. That's it. But it's so simple. It's so good. I eat that like every day. I mean, I can't eat that every day. Let's say.
Nice. I remember Clay was saying that steak and beef is very expensive, and I know Brazil is a big steak country, and you guys have a lot of cattle, and the Brazilian steakhouse is kind of the famous thing. So, do you ever splurge, or you're like, nah, it's way too expensive?
Nah, yeah. So, okay, that was a big thing. So, yeah, beef in Brazil is amazing. I'm gonna say like best beef in the planet. We have like churrascaria as well, which is kind of like these barbecue places. We like they truly mastered meat. Like it's absolutely awesome. And then you come here, the beef is terrible. Like to say bluntly, like it's not good, and it's super expensive. Again, you can find good beef when it's like imported and they know how to prepare, but like you're gonna pay, I don't know, like one steak is gonna cost you like $40. And compared to like you can get like a decent meal here for $2, right? So like the difference is absolutely massive. So normally I stick like to I just love like pork here. Yeah, I just eat a lot of pork, a lot of chicken. Shrimp is also actually is the opposite here, because like shrimp is dirt cheap here and it's super expensive in Brazil. So yeah, a bunch of seafood as well. Yeah, they like squid and oysters. Like I don't know, some other like seafood that is not very popular to eat in Brazil. But yeah, again, like almost I would basically anything. Like I have a very open mind to. There are some things like liver. I'm not a big fan, but yeah, they have one very good barbecue. They have one that is called like the Thai barbecue, where they use some spices from, it's called mala, from, I think it comes from China, I'm not sure, but it's kind of like this is this spicy that makes, it's almost like makes your tongue a little bit numb.
Yeah
Man,
I love
it's
Szechuan pepper. Yeah, that's from like the Szechuan probably. So the malong is like, I think it's like spicy and numb kind of. That's kind of that's definitely Szechuan.
That's the literal
food.
translation.
Yeah, it's funny. That's literal translation, right? Is like, yeah, spicy and numb. Yeah. So yeah, I spent some time in Szechuan, and I know everything is, because it's like, yeah, super chili oil, and then the Szechuan pepper that makes your tongue go numb, which is cool. You can get that pretty much anywhere. Like I actually keep a pepper shaker of that in my house, and so I use it on a lot of stuff. I like it. That's cool. It's a really cool like feeling.
Yeah, it's really good. That's really good.
Well, I think we'll have to get Clay back on it at some point in the future, because I think the one thing that Clay doesn't have on his side is the advantage of time. So you alluded to, the first time I tried this dish, maybe not so much. Over time, I kept trying it, and now it's And I had a very similar experience here. There were certainly dishes, Hep, you can attest to the acquired stench that is stinky tofu. You can smell it a mile away, and when you smell it for the very first time, it's disgusting. But now that what used to be a sense of disgust is, oh man, that place smells incredible. So yeah, the X factor is time, and the perspective that changes throughout that is amazing. So we'll have to get Clay back on at some point in the future and see if he's changed his tune on some of these dishes. But my sister spent, I want to say she was in Chiang Mai for 6 months, something like that, and she came home raving about khao soi, which
Khao Soi is more northern. Yeah, it's more specific to this region.
in Chiang Mai.
Yeah, I mean,
Or
not just
further
Chiang Mai,
north?
but like just the north. Like Thailand is basically like 4 regions, right? Like there's the south, center, which is Bangkok and around that, and then the north, and then Isan, which is the northeast. And I mean, Thailand is not even that big of a country, right? But for example, here in the north, like they have this different cuisine. They have the language is also different. Like it's I mean, it's still similar, but it's definitely another dialect. And Isan similar, like it's also another dialect. So and not even to include like you have like I don't know, like they call like Hmong, which is I don't know, like this mountain people, which is like is kind of like I guess yeah, there are not so many, but they also have their own language. They speak. They have like different costumes. It's almost like a unique country. It's not like it's not even like following Thailand or Burma, or Myanmar. It's kind of like in between. Yeah, so many different cultures with like language and cuisine.
Cool. Well, I want to make one more comment about um Brazil. We haven't touched too much on your Brazilian roots, but one of my all-time favorite movies, City of God, is
That's
I
an
need
awesome
to go
movie.
back and visit that
Yeah.
movie. But Buscapet was, yeah, he was my hero as a kid watching that movie, man. Is that movie as big in Brazil as it was internationally? Because I remember the first time I saw that movie, it just absolutely blew me away. And Lil Zay, and yeah, just the character development, the story, the favela, a day in the life of these characters was just, it was so well portrayed. And yeah, what an excellent movie.
Yeah, so I think almost everyone in Brazil knows about that movie, right? Like maybe I don't know, maybe the younger generation didn't watch it, but yeah, I'm not sure because yeah, as I say, like it is definitely very famous internationally because I think it portrays this vision that people have from Brazil really well, right? It shows, as I say, I think it shows, as I say, like life in the favelas. Of course, I don't think like it's not like the only image of Brazil is a lot more than that. But yeah, I think you have City of God and Tropa de Elite. I think it's translated to Elite Squad. That's also another movie, really good as well. One and two. If you haven't watched that, I recommend as well. If you like City of God, just watch Elite Squad. But yeah.
You have to check
Yeah,
that
man.
out.
Like Brazil, it's because it's massive, right? Like it's so different as well. Like the culture in the northeast is very different from like in the south. I'm from Brasilia, which is the capital, which is also really interesting experience because like Brasilia was a planned city, right? It's very new. I think they're building the 60s. And they built like they designed the whole city from the ground up, and so it's very unique, right? Like it's almost like this unique city in the planet which is completely different. It's very easy to navigate. Like I can tell you how the city is structured, and then you don't even need a map. You know exactly where everything is. There's no confusion. uh, but it's weird as well. For example, like there is no corners, right? Like there are no streets with corners. Like it's even hard to explain. You need to look at the map, like to like how is that even possible? Like yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that statement does not compute in my mind. There's no streets with corners.
It's
What?
like not a
Yeah.
grid system like you would typically
Yeah, it's
think
not a
of, right?
grid system. Yeah, you kind
Yeah.
of have this connecting streets, but that gets you in this almost this I don't know, like areas almost everything is based on areas, right? So you have like these residential areas. So like you have, let's say, like one block with almost this mini city inside with I don't know, like 8-10 buildings in this block, but then you need to actually like leave the block and then move to some other area. And I mean, some things, because it was planned, work really well, but some don't. Like some don't make sense. For example, like having areas. So if you say, oh, there is a hotel area, like you can only build hotels in that area, but like hotels is the kind of stuff that you want to get near the place where you're gonna go, right? But like, no, you're stuck in, like, you need to stay in this like hotel area, like hospital area. Again, hospitals should be close to the people, right? But then no, everybody drives to the hospital area, and it's like it's traffic jam packed there, and you're like, rush to get to the hospital, but then it's you cannot find parking, and it's but overall, very, very cool city. Yeah, very beautiful as well. A lot of people go there for like architecture. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's almost like you're playing a game of Sim City, and it's like, well, you put like the old school game where it's like, here's a block of commercial stuff, here's a block of residential stuff, here's, that. Now I got to put.
Yeah.
I've unlocked the hospital, so I'm going to put that over here, and like.
It's almost like it's even funnier than that, because they actually had a competition, right? To who's gonna build the city, and the one that won is from Oscar Niemeyer. He basically drew a plane. So it's kind of like funny, like as I say in the game, you say, "Oh, I'm gonna make my city that's shaped like a plane."
Okay,
and that it is like, "Oh, okay, that sounds cool, bro. Okay, let's build it."
Yeah. Oh man, that's funny.
I was just looking up some stats, and I'm looking at the plano piloto, which I guess was the blueprint that you're referring to.
Yeah, that's the main
original
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's clearly modeled after a plane, which is crazy. But I would just assume, because Brazil is such a massive country, I would assume that it's got a big population, but Brasilia is relatively small. That's 3 million people, something like that.
Yeah, so Brazil, there's around like 200 million, probably above that. But almost all the big cities are in the coast, or at least like near the coast, right? And actually that was the plan for Brasilia. Like, it was like, had like a president that said like, "Yo, we need to like expand. Like, yeah, we need to take care of the whole country. Like, it's really big. We need to build the roads infrastructure. Like, we get like cars everywhere. Okay, so let's move the capital to the center." And if you look at Brasilia, it's almost at the center of the map. Like, if you approximate Brazil as a circle, Brazil is very close to the center. And so yeah, that was the idea, because like in the north, like you have the Amazon jungle. So like, to be honest, like no one really lives there. Yeah, as I say, like most is in the coast, and you have like these very big cities. So like São Paulo, I lived there for I think 4 years. It's huge. Like, so again, if you compare it to Bangkok, for example, it's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 times the size, right? I think it's the third or fourth like biggest city in the planet. So there is like, I don't know, there's like 30 million just in São Paulo alone. Rio is also pretty big. And in the northeast, also you have like the Pernambuco. I think Pernambuco is the biggest the biggest state, with because like Recife is the capital there. It's yeah, it's kind of wild there. I think that's actually one of the most dangerous cities in Brazil. But yeah, many massive cities in the coast.
Mm-hmm. Well, last and probably the most contentious question about Brazil: greatest Brazilian footballer of all time. Go.
Ronaldinho, Gaúcho, right?
Oh, wow! All right. I was expecting CR9 or Pele, but yeah, Ronaldinho.
Nah, I still like, yeah, because okay, in Brazil we have like these 2 Ronaldos, right? Like, that was like really big. Yeah, you have Pelé, but to be honest, again, it's not really from my age. People say he was great, but I didn't watch him, right? But Ronaldo, which just call like big Ronaldo in Brazil. Now, and the small Ronaldo, which is Ronaldinho, because like big Ronaldo, he won. He was the guy that scored like the goals in the final, like where Brazil got the fifth title, right? So yeah, I mean, and he was like amazing, right? But the reason I tell like Ronaldinho, because like again, I like this like really unique play style. Like Ronaldo is very almost like methodical, right? Like you give him the ball, he's gonna score. But Ronaldinho is kind of more like freestyle, doing some random stuff. I think it's a lot more enjoyable to watch. But to be honest, I'm a weird Brazilian. Like I don't think it's an accident that I'm not even living there anymore. Like for example, I don't like. It's not that I don't like, but I don't care so much about football. I don't care about a carnival. That kind of stuff, which is like very big in Brazil. It's kind of like yeah.
Pele had that movie with Sylvester Stallone. That movie was a Victory. You ever seen that movie?
No, not really.
It's old. It was. I think it's from like the It's from like the 80s. Oh, really? It's great. Yeah, I think they're like
Escape to Victory.
I think it's just called Victory.
Oh, let's see.
Right? Yeah, Victory, 1981. Sylvester Stallone, Pele, Michael Caine, Bobby Moore. Yeah, they're POWs in like I think they're in like a the German like prisoner of war camp. And they have to like play the guards. It's like totally like that whole like long, like whole 9 yards sort of situation where like they're playing the guards to show that like the Germans aren't like this uber elite and they're like a ragtag group of prisoners thrown together onto a team. And Sylvester Stallone
just happens
like the
to
American.
include Pele.
Yeah, and Pele happens to be there, and he's like doing bicycle kicks and being crazy all over the place. It's good. It's an entertaining movie. It's pretty old.
Actually, this kind of happened in real life because like somewhat recently, I don't know. I think it was during COVID, right? Like Ronaldinho was arrested, and then he won the prison football championship.
was that they arrested him just so like to like stack their teams? Like, oh, we got to get this guy on the team. So
yeah. I mean, I don't know the full story, but I think it was related with. I don't know if it was because of COVID exactly, but like he was going to other countries for a false passport. I mean, I don't know why he would do that, but I mean, probably some reason. But yeah, it's funny like that. Yeah. Where they say like a movie in the 80s is reality now.
Oh
man,
what a trip! Well, I'm gonna have to put both of so Elite Squad and Victory on my IMDb list to check out in the coming weeks. Well, cool, GB. Let's turn this conversation back to kind of what brought us here, Splinterlands.
Yep.
So I really love your super fresh approach to how do we deal with bots? And that video, kudos to you for the very methodical approach of how do we break it down and looking at what have we tried, what have other Web3 games tried? Well, this is why they failed. And then you offer a number of potential solutions. So would you mind talking about like what is the genesis of your thought process for developing all of this stuff? Like how is it so you present it? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you're listening to this and you haven't seen the video yet, pause this and go watch it. It's great. It's like it is really good. I love it. It's great. Go onto YouTube, check out Games on the Block. Definitely watch that as like a precursor to probably the rest of our conversation, pretty much. So I would definitely recommend it. It's pretty long. It was like 20 minutes or so. It was good, but yeah, go definitely check that out. It's awesome. Sorry.
So I'll put everything in the PT post just to kind of cut you off real quickly, GB. But yeah, I'd love to kind of hear your thoughts on like how did you wind up on such a simple solution? Actually, it's elegant. It's really it's a profound solution that I feel like in hindsight, like I said earlier, it's actually so simple, but it feels like it would be very, very effective. So what was your thought process in kind of achieving that idea?
Okay, so I'll summarize the the idea for people that still didn't pause to watch the video. Right? And actually, to be honest, I think now that after I recorded the video and I saw people's comments and I'll reflect on that, I think I can summarize that a lot better. The solution is basically this: like, there are things that we humans still do better than bots, right? Because if this was not true, again, we would be at best extinct already, right? So if we still are better in some things than bots, okay, let's make game design decisions that focus on those things. That's it. Like that's the brilliant idea. Like it's in the video I just go more into details, explaining like, okay, some implementation of these ideas, right? Like, so I think I give 3 or 4 ideas. Okay, like how of design the decisions that follow this strategy, let's call, and the other half I'm just talking about our like legacy solutions that again they don't work, right? Because I mean, I don't even think I should spend like that much time in the video in these solutions that work, because in theory for Web3 games, that was the whole point. Like you won't be able to ban people again if it is truly a Web3 game, right? So, but just so people to know, like, you know, even if it was possible, or even while we're in this like transition period, and that's the focus. Like, I think like we don't have Web3 games because it is difficult to do. Like it's not an easy problem to solve. It's not impossible, but it's definitely not easy. And we're gonna have this transition period, right? And while in this transition period, my whole point is like, okay, let's start designing mechanics like to when we reach there, like so we're already there, or like we don't focus so much on like the earning potentials and being stuck in this Web 2 but with crypto for like, I don't know, to bypass to I think that's the main reason. I think like a lot of these projects, they're just leveraging that crypto is in this gray area, right, which is technically not really money, but it can act as money, so you can bypass all these regulations, because like all this get, man, like I told, like I was playing Diablo 2, right? Man, people were selling stuff on eBay all the time. Like I did it myself. Like, I mean, not on eBay, but I definitely like sold Diablo 2 items. So for example, Ragnarok items, like that's and on Diablo 3, Blizzard even created this like real money action house, right? So the game industry was actually going in this direction of like, okay, like let's just like, why would we block people from doing whatever they want, right? Again, it's completely fine. No one is harming anyone. But in Diablo 3 example, they closed down the real money action house. They say it was because it's not following the design of the Diablo, like to kill monsters. I mean, like, come on, like they closed the real money action house like exactly 1 year after some the FinCEN, forget the name of the entity, but like some financial entity, like they passed like a new law, new regulation, right? So I think a lot of these Web3 games are just Web 2 games, but again, leveraging that crypto is this in this gray area. So you actually allow people to withdraw from your game without all the regulations of the government treating you, a game company, basically as a bank. And a good example of that, I don't know if you guys ever played a game called Entropia Universe, but it's a game, man, it's an MMO that has been around for like 20 years. Probably even more than that, but more than 20 years. And it had this economy pegged to the real dollar, right? So it had it's called a PED. So this PED has been pegged to the dollar for over 20 years, right? And you can withdraw using like the traditional banking system, because I think like the game is again, they probably had this license from like over 20 years ago, and it's in Sweden. So I guess the laws there is a little bit different, but that's a really good example of like man, we can make sustainable economies. Like, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. Like, the guy solved this like 20 years ago. Like, we don't need to keep like creating like 15 different tokens to make a sustainable economy, like, or making Web3 work. Like, there are multiple ways to do that. Yeah.
Do you know kind of what they did in that game to kind of keep, keep that at peg, or to prevent inflation of that, or?
Yes, the game, man, I think it's brilliant design. So, because okay, the game operates basically like a casino under the hood, right? So, for example, in a casino, you, whatever game you, I don't know, play roulette, right? Like, a percentage is always gonna go to the house, right? I don't know. Let's just call 5% just to make it easy. So you see, like, you can make any a casino, a Web3 casino, is gonna be sustainable, because like there's no way for you to win in a roulette. Like, you play, you lose, like, in the long term, right? So see, like, that's one example of making a sustainable game. So what these guys did is basically that, but like, how do you make it fun for players to play that as well, right? Because like, no one wants to play an MMO of a roulette. So the way Entropy Universe works is basically like, everything you do kind of costs money. So let's say you're gonna kill an elephant, right? So you use your gun, you need to buy bullets, you need to maintain the gun, right? You need to repair the gun from like the use case. So the idea is like, the amount of money that you're gonna spend to kill the elephant is gonna be greater than whatever the elephant drops, right? Like, so let's say the elephant is gonna give you some bones, meat, whatever, like all the loots that it's gonna drop. But that's the point. So like, the house never loses. You always gonna spend more money, again, on average, right? Like, you can always get lucky and find some super rare elephant bone, right, that is worth a shit ton of money, and you can even sell directly back to the game. So you see, like, so from that perspective, that's super sustainable, done. So now, how do you earn then? Like, how you as a player can profit from that? And that's what I think it's brilliant, because like, almost everything else that can be crafted. So let's say somebody wants to buy a cool hat, right? Like, as you say, okay, these games, like, they have a cosmetics, right? So I want to buy a cool hat. I don't go to the game shop and buy a cool hat. Somebody used the elephant hide and crafted some elephant hat, right? And then now he can sell that to me at a markup, right? So, okay, maybe he is losing 5% to the game, but if a player is willing to pay more than 5% to wear the cool hat, so now it's in the you achieve this win-win situation, right? Where the player that bought the cool hat is happy, right? Like, they're spending money to buy the cool hat. It gives no abilities whatsoever. It's just a cool hat. So like, he's happy to inject money to the extra money to the game. So you that had the trouble to go there, waste your time, like, kill the elephant, like, level your skills to craft the hide and trade your way to end up with this hat. So I don't know if that's so clear, but that's my point. Like, they achieved this solution where it's this economy works really well, where people that want to spend money, they can, and eventually, like, this money is gonna find its way to the people that is kind of like, again, like, grinding or working, right? Because and man, like, the game is super cool. It's very it's on this like universe where you have like multiple planets, and so for example, you almost like, you can, for example, you can work in this game. Let's say, okay, you can be a Uber driver in real life, right? Or you can be a spaceship driver in this game, right? Because you still like, it's exactly the same principle. So like, you need to have the know-how, you need to know like how to navigate to go to the other planets, you need to have your spaceship, you need to take care of the spaceship, you need to fuel the spaceship. So, and then people are willing to pay for that convenience as well. So yeah, again, brilliant game, but like, the technical side, it really works, but in practice, for example, it's very annoying. Every time you want to withdraw the game, it takes like 2-3 months to do that, right? Like, because it has all this it's on this legacy system, maybe like trying to prevent like credit cards, refunds, and all that kind of stuff. So man, if we had a game like this, like just copy that game and put crypto on there, like that would be like nuts. Of course, like I don't think they do like such a good job with the bot like we're talking about before. But my point is like, man, like that's what I see we can achieve. Like, man, we can have like this extremely like cool virtual realities, this immersive like alternative world, and like crypto makes it all possible again. Like not just with like the money side, or even like from like freedom of speech, right? Like we'll be able to talk, to say whatever you want, or even like to try new stuff, right? Like for example, in I mean this guild or in this game or World of Warcraft, Ragnarok, any game, like for example, you can organize yourselves in different guilds, right? And the way you structure the guild is completely up to you, right? Like you can have a council decide what you're gonna do. You can have a dictatorship. You can have a vote. Everybody votes, or you have weighted vote. You can throw a coin every time you want to decide. I think that's my point. Like you can do whatever, right? But like you kind of need to have, I think, like crypto, blockchain, whatever, like integration to make that happen. Especially like nowadays, where everything is, I don't know, it's kind of fragile, right? Like I don't know, for example, maybe you're playing a game and you say, I like dark chocolate, and 6 months from now you're gonna get banned because you use the word dark, and now dark you're being flagged as a racist, and you cannot play the game anymore. So stuff like that, like how are you gonna create the like these like alternative like governance systems, alternative like payment system, like monetary systems, if we're like following like the legacy system, right? Like you need to be decentralized, but again, for that to happen, you need to have this decentralized mechanics, the decentralized money, decentralized freedom of speech, and I think Splinterlands gives a taste of that, but I still I just, yeah, in my opinion, it's just a taste. Like I see the potential is so much a huger, bigger than that. Yeah.
So GB, I've heard you go on record a couple of times and state outright that Splinterlands is your favorite Web3 game, and I don't think that, you know, the more we get to know you, the more I feel like you're not just saying that to pander to people to come watch your videos. I believe that's, you know, that's what you actually believe.
Yes.
So I would like to hear, you know, and I'm assuming that statement is not surface level, just the game. I'm assuming you're looking at the DAO, the governance of SPS, the game, yes, land, you know, the bigger picture. Where is this ship moving to? So, you know, I'd love to kind of hear your thoughts. You know, given everything that you just shared about, you know, the realm of possibility is obviously massive within Web3, and allowing for crypto to play its role and allow for true decentralization, you know, has real implications around, you know, what does the future look like. So I'd love to hear kind of in a nutshell, what do you think we should be striving to achieve short term, and do you feel like, you know, looking back on, you know, it's no secret that salt is at arguably all-time highs in the last 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. There's a lot of stuff. A lot of people are up in arms about things. And, you know, I don't know what's to blame for all of that. There's, you know, a few different levers that have been recently pulled that I think have you know, kind of subsequently triggered particular areas of the community, and then all of a sudden, you know, volume's just been amplified and stuff, and people are going up in arms. But all things considered, I would like to hear your perspective on, you know, what the current state of SPS and its role in governance, Do you believe that relationship is correct, and therefore the DAO? And what would you like to see kind of short term, longer term?
Okay, that's a big one. Let me try to. Okay, let's start from the beginning. Why I like Splinterlands like the best, right? So I think Meta is just, to put it simply, is because they're the only ones actually trying, I guess. Like, I'm gonna credit that a lot. I think like to the founders. I feel like especially Matt now always had this. You see, like I don't see he's not like trying to just make a quick buck, right? He's not just trying to make a pump and dump. It's like he's legitimately trying to reach this Web3. I mean, I disagree with a bunch of the design decisions, right? But like I have like a huge respect from trying, and I know it's difficult because again, like I almost feel like they're the only ones. Like, and man, and I checked because like I tried hundreds of crypto games. Like it's not just just like 2 or 3. Like no, I actually like tried almost. I mean, not all of them, right? Because you get to a point like if you've seen 10, you've seen them all. But yeah, so I really like what they're doing. Yeah, and to say like I think they are definitely in the right direction. Like so they have these nodes, they have the DAO, they have the game, which in my opinion, like the foundation it's also it's really good even to combat bots. In my opinion, like the game is really fun. I really like it. It has like it is somewhat like simple to understand. I'm talking about like the battle mechanics. Let's say like it's kind of like okay, you build a team and then you fight against the other team, like and then you have the rule sets, the different cards, like that's really cool. And yeah, they have the market also as well, like including like rentals, which I don't think I've seen many other games doing. I mean, they had like the Mobox one. I knew you could rent your momos, but yeah, it's not something common. They had like tournaments, which is also kind of important. Yeah, I just like overall what they're doing. I still find it like super convoluted. To be honest, I think the game could use a massive simplification. And to be honest, again, if there was, I think, stronger competition, to be honest, I think Splinterlands would be a bit in trouble, like more trouble than it is, I guess, because I don't see any competition that, again, like directly is directly competition to Splinterlands per se, right? Like you have all this this ecosystem that you feel like you have this the sense of asset ownership again, that you have the market, you have the cards that you're trading using directly into battle. The community is really good. So you can also play on the browser. I think that was the standard, and now I've seen like many of these new crypto games, like you actually need to download the client as well. That's pretty weird as well. Like if you're dealing with crypto and you're like downloading stuff into a machine, like it should be a no-go. But yeah. So yeah. Okay. Like what was the follow-up question? You say the SPS
Governance,
okay, the DAO,
decentralization. Yeah.
So okay, again, I really like what you should have some type of governance, right? I'm personally not a big fan of like everybody votes. I'll give you a good example for that related to game. I don't know if you guys watched that back in the day. Actually, I don't even know it was like that long ago when like Twitch plays Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Have heard it, but
I definitely got into that for a while. It was fascinating. Yeah. Here's where, Ben, are you familiar with this?
No.
There was just a channel where basically everybody could input the commands to a Game Boy. It was the Game Boy version, right? It was the original.
Yeah.
Or was it red?
Yeah, I think it was red. Yeah, I think it was red.
Right? So everybody could just input what commands they wanted to happen, and an emulator would follow those commands and play in the Pokemon game. So it was sort of like just seeing, it was one of those things where like if you put a million monkeys like typing, banging on a keyboard, you'll get Shakespeare. It was like that. Like, let's see if we could put a couple million monkeys, everybody screaming like up, down, left, right, A and B, and
Yeah.
see if we can beat Pokemon doing that. So yeah.
Yeah, but
long story short,
yeah, so at some point they even included this like voting system, right? Because again, if everyone is screaming left, right, like it's basically like, if it's like full anarchy, like it's gonna take forever to beat the game, right? So they're like, okay, let's improve on that. So we're gonna have this let's say opens a window for like 15 seconds and everybody types, and then the whichever was like typed the most would win, and that would the action that the game would perform. And they did beat the game, but it took like, I don't know, days, weeks, who knows, right? Now we compare that with a speed runner that can beat the game in, I don't know, like 5 minutes, right? I think that's kind of like my approach that I see with governance. Like, I personally am a big fan of like just having like a council, like a board members, whatever you want to call that. Just sure, everyone should be able to submit an idea, right? And then if it's a good idea, again, if the council is reasonable enough, you almost like you're gonna end up in the best idea, right? Like if you give enough time to discuss, but you're also not gonna take forever like to discuss every single thing, because actually that's a little bit how I feel like with Splinterlands. Like there's a bunch of like somebody comes up with a proposal in like, I don't know, doesn't put like that much thought about it, and then everyone is already like going nuts on the keyboards, and I'm like, man, like again, I see it is a difficult problem to solve, right? Again, if we had this governance figured out, we would probably be in a way better society already. And actually that's my point. I think with Web3 games we can do that. So Splinterlands is trying one way, right, to have this weighted vote with SPS. And again, ideally I would like to see 100 other games trying 100 other ideas, and then we can kind of find the best ones. So,
well,
yeah.
so this makes me think about, you know, the other model that is very close to Splinterlands that is present in Hive with the witness system. I'd love to kind of zoom out real quickly and look at Hive and your thoughts on, you know, the witness system and governance that takes place on, you know, the Hive blockchain as a whole versus what we're doing at Splinterlands. I mean, the witness system is essentially a democratically elected council that you're referring to. Is that kind of more akin to what you think we should be trying to achieve within Splinterlands? Is that going to silence a lot of the noise that we currently hear with the way that the DAO currently operates?
I mean, okay, just to make it clear again, just this from the top of my head, it seems like, again, a council. That's from my experience with running guilds in other games. But my whole point is like, I think we just need to be able to do this iteration quicker, like to have more options. So I think, for example, the game should be a lot easier to fork, because if you're like, oh, I don't like how this is going, I don't like this governance system, okay, fork it to try something else and see how it goes. Like, I mean, this happens with cryptocurrency all the time. Like, okay, you have a Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, Bitcoin Diamond, whatever. Like, people say, oh, I don't like the block size. Okay, fork it to try something else. And I think that's a better approach in general. And actually, back to my gaming days, that's kind of what we have with Ragnarok Online, because it had like so many private servers. So, and the official one, like if the official company was doing something, like let's say they introduced a cash shop, it was like it completely destroyed the game. Like people was like, okay, fuck that, I'm gonna create my own private server, and yeah, I'll kind of like that meme, right? I'll make my own server with blackjack and hookers, and then you have like all these private servers right? And then normally like you would of course end up with like 2 or 3, which was gonna be the good ones, the good with good management, with good ideas, and that's what everyone would play. And the only reason that this didn't fully work, I mean, it actually did work. Like, man, I had like loads of fun in these private servers, but it was almost inevitable. They're gonna end up like being sued. Not even sued, like even before getting sued, like they're gonna get hit by a cease and desist letter, and then the server would shut down, right? But with Web3, in theory, you don't have that, right? So if you had games that were easier to fork, just fork it, like just try something else, and people would automatically migrate to the best ideas. I think that's this is the best way to do it. And again, not many crypto games are easy to fork. As I say, like Splinterlands, it's not open source. It's very convoluted. So it's and that's again one of the good examples that would be again like easy to fork. I mean, it's definitely possible to fork, but it's again, I just think it should like be like that easy. Like somebody's go, okay, like give me let's fork just copy the repo, copy the database. Okay, done. Like you have another server up and running like a day, and then you make your adjustments from there.
But how would that work with, say, like rewards, right? I mean, is that something where, we would kind of things have to take rewards out of the picture, right? And would have to move more towards some sort of cash into play and you own assets because, if you could fork the game, but then where like say where a battle reward's going to go from, or, is that going to be part of, the DAO, or is it now going to be a different DAO that's running it, and where's that going to get assets, right? There's that the part is problem I see is like the assets and the value of the assets aren't so easy to kind of transfer and move as it would be to just kind of copy the data and move everything over to try something new.
But because I think I think we're talking about like two different Web3 things, because that's the thing. Like there are multiple ways to decentralize something, right? So for example. I'll just tell 3 real quick. So you can run just like everything on chain, right? Just let's say if you had a simple game like roulette, okay, just and a high stake roulette, especially, like, so you don't even need to worry about like transaction fees. Like, okay, just put everything on chain. It's just a roll of the dice, right? Like just put that on chain. But if you're talking about like a game where people have like millions of inputs like per second per day, like now it's not really feasible to be on chain. So okay, you need to have some parts off chain. And one idea is to say like, okay, you have this kind of like this base layer where you have the tokens and the NFTs, right? And then you kind of have these nodes where just running like in a battle. Let's use Splinterlands as an example, right? But they're still like following the same base layer. Right. Mm-hmm. And then you have the DAO to organize, say, like the rewards, to some mechanism to keep these all these nodes honest and all that kind of stuff. So that's one way. But another way is just like you don't even need like blockchain per se. You just like in this example of these private servers, you just have like an open source game that you constantly like taking a snapshot of the database, right? So anyone at any point can just go and create another server, and that's decentralized enough because, well, like if there's any problem, again, if a country decides to ban cryptocurrency, okay, like just host your servers somewhere else. Again, just copy, and then you have like this again hundreds, thousands of different servers from the same game, but people can choose where they're gonna play. And sure, the rewards. It's up to again to each server. So again, maybe you're playing for a year in one server and they decide to shut down, then yeah, in theory you lose everybody is gonna lose all your assets. But again, the copy is there. You could if no one is doing that, you could go and you fork it yourself. And yeah, that's my point. Like there are multiple ways to do it. They all have like some pros and cons. It's not an easy problem to solve, but there are a billion solutions to maybe not a billion, but yeah, there are multiple solutions to to achieve this decentralization. And the one Splinterlands is doing is just one of them.
So I'm interested that you said you've tried out, a bunch of these games. Do you constantly try out new things, or is it something where you tried a bunch of them and then finally found Splinterlands, or what was that process like?
I mean, mostly I was just looking for one. Like it's almost, man, when I was understanding more about crypto, I was like, man, like, okay, it's done. Like crypto and games is like the perfect combination. We're gonna have like amazing games. This is gonna be awesome. Like, okay, I just need to find it. And I was like, no, I was like 100% sure. Like it didn't even cross my mind I was not gonna find. Like, okay, you have all this like crypto gaming boom. Like there's like 1,000 games coming out. I was like, okay, like one of them is bound to be a decent one. But no, I think I was wrong. Like just like a bunch of pump and dump stuff. And sure, like a few gems here and there, but it's still very far. In my opinion, very, very far from not even the ideal, just from like this standard that we had like 20 years ago, right? So, yeah. And to be honest, that's kind of like why I decided to move out of the shadows, let's say, because, man, I'm very introvert. Like, I don't, as I said, I don't care about like people want to get famous. Actually, I want the opposite. I was like, but please, like being famous is probably gonna be the worst things ever. But I think especially after COVID, right? Because like before, I was like, I don't care about money. I can live very simply. I just like chill here. But I think after COVID, where I saw like when like shit hit the fan, what everybody's gonna do, like all the companies, all the governments, what are they gonna do? I was like, man, okay, like this is this is not good. Like I cannot just if I just sit idle here, like it's gonna come bite me in the ass and my family, like people that I care. So yeah, like I mean, and I do have some know-how. Like I should be at least helping, right? Like I shouldn't be sitting here like, yeah, again, in my utopia I would be able to just again have this like awesome like a Web3 game that I could just play and make money. Yeah, that would be definitely the easiest. But again, I don't really like where the world is going, let's say. So and I think blockchain again is such a big piece, so because again it kind of gives, it's almost like one of the pillars to like freedom per se, right? Because again, you have like the freedom of speech, the freedom of like use your money however you please. Like these are such important things, or governance, whatever you want to call it. There's so many benefits, and I was like, okay, I need to at least help. Again, I don't know exactly how I'm gonna help, but like I cannot just sit idle here.
Interesting. Yeah. So how long have you been playing Splinterlands or been part of it?
I checked, my account was created I think in 2020, at the end of 2020. So I don't know, three years, probably more like 3 years, because again I probably created the account, but I was playing like a bunch of other games. I didn't give a Splinterlands the full attention, right? I was in a way, I was kind of like, again, I was trying every single game that I could put my hands on, and then I was kind of like discarding. I was almost creating like this funneling down to I don't know, a good 5 or 6 games that I was playing.
Hearing you talk about your views on how profound blockchain can be. Obviously it's kind of the immutable truth to all of those pillars that you were just discussing. It's permanent, it's free, and it's irrevocable, right? And it's purely visible for anybody. So hearing your thoughts on that, and what the true potential impact for something like blockchain can bring to the world, and given your perspective on kind of the real world and where we're headed as a as a race, as a species, and you know that you don't need to look far to kind of see where your perspective is and what's happening in your respective neighborhood of the world. But you know, I think it's really powerful for you to have such a profound view and then continue coming back to Splinterlands and saying that it's your favorite Web3 game. You know, hearing that, you know, all the salts that we've been hearing the last 6 weeks, and you've been here since, you know, kind of the highest of highs and have seen some pretty abysmal lows. That's a really big statement, man.
Yeah.
You know, I think personally that makes me feel much more bullish about what is happening here when I hear somebody like you with, you know, the very big thoughts that you have of Web3, to continue to find your home in Splinterlands.
Okay, let me make it clear. Like, again, I like Splinterlands, but if you want some salt, man, I can definitely come up with a really long list of things that I don't like about Splinterlands. But I think that's kind of beyond the point. Okay, I'll just throw one. I'll just tell the things that I hate the most, and just so I don't sound like so bullish. Oh, Splinter is the best thing ever. No, it's not the best
I'm
thing
just,
ever.
and I'm just, you know, I think we all have something that we can nitpick about, and maybe it's not even nitpicking. There's going to be issues for sure, but the bigger picture that, you know, your belief in Web3 and the power of blockchain and that Splinterlands is what you keep coming back to. I think just that basic equation without other things involved is bullish in nature. Yeah, but go ahead.
That's kind of like the sad part about, because like a lot of the things that I don't like about Splinterlands is when, in my opinion, when they're going backwards towards that vision, right? Which is stuff like soulbound cards. I'm like, I hate soulbound cards. I like it's in my opinion, it's absolute, like, again, it has no place here in this in a Web3 trading card game. It makes stuff like so much more complicated. The game is so much more convoluted because of that. It's absolutely terrible for new players, right? Because like they get into the game and it's like, oh, you haven't been playing this game for 1 year. I guess you lose then. Like, sorry, come back, continue to play 1 year. And I think they're always like, it came from like just trying to, again, like reduce the bot's earnings, right? So like you kind of get this band-aid solution, but then now you kind of stuck into that. And now, for example, if now this recent change about Glint, like you come almost like doubling down with this like soulbound stuff, I'm like, man, I just don't like that. But back about your original question, you actually, not question, like you statement, you were saying about crypto being open and free. And actually, I think there is an important distinction that I found very important there. I don't think being open is that good. Actually, it can be good, but it depends on how you use it. But for example, one of probably my favorite coin, which I don't see many people talking about, especially like in the gaming community, is called Monero. I don't know if you guys heard about it. But actually, that's the point. Like, it is not open. Like, you cannot view. It's private by default. And on top of that, like it does so many things better than Bitcoin. So because of Bitcoin, for example, is not really fungible, right? Like if everything is open, if you can see all the transaction and then people are banning address and everything, like now you create like this very problematic situations where, like, let's say somebody sends you a Bitcoin, you actually need to, you're gonna go through his whole history to see if that Bitcoin is tainted. Right, like, so you see, like, you don't even have fungibility. Like, that's a massive problem. Like, I don't know why people have all these Bitcoin maxis that don't even address this problem, right? So anyway, so Monero is like, it's private by default. It also has a dynamic block size, which kind of solves the block size problem with Bitcoin. It has it's called like a random X algorithm to mine. So you also don't really have a problems with ASICs that Bitcoin have. Anyway, my point is, like, there are so many, actually not so many, but there are really good projects out there, but like if it's not pumping numbers, right? If the dollars numbers are not going up, people don't even consider that. In the case of Monero, for example, it's almost like because it is the one with the price going down, right? It's the one getting banned in every single exchange or every single country. That's almost like that's the seal of approval of all the governments in the world. Like this is telling, yeah, this is the coin to pay attention to, but again, because of that, like nobody, if you have like a lower liquidity or getting banned, whatever, people get scared and the price goes down. But you see, like that's kind of like the good side. So I back to Splinterlands. I still think. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, yeah, just to jump in there. Yeah, no, I think that's a huge issue, right? And I think people are starting to recognize that a little bit more now than they were 2 years ago, where it's like, and I think it's also too because you have that government narrative where like, oh, crypto and Bitcoin is this shady thing, and people are using it for like terrorists and drug deals and transactions, and it's like, no, it's like you can, like you said, like you can see, like what's shady is like go to war zones everywhere, like. What's the shadiest currency people typically use? US dollars, right? Because it's the most stable, it's the most widely accepted, it's untraceable. You have no idea if I hand you $5, no one knows that happens. If I give you, a Bitcoin, like that's forever. It's that transaction is there. And, just because people have, wallets with numbers on them instead of like their pictures and their names, it's just that terrible narrative that people are a lot of squares are still trying hard to be able to understand. But I think there's some, I don't know if you looked at this at all, but I think they're starting to develop some like layer twos on Ethereum that are going to be more privacy based because they're like, so all of a sudden they're starting to say, well, now that this stuff is actually, starting to become more mainstream, like it's a problem. People shouldn't know your entire history of, every transaction you've done. And people shouldn't be able to just very easily go on, ETH scan or whatever to be able to figure out like exactly what wallet is yours and how much money you have in it. And yeah, so I think that is an issue. Yeah, I've heard of Monero. I've never like purchased any of it, like you said, mostly because it people are like, oh, this is the shadiest one because it's private. I'm like, every fiat is private, like I can't find out what's in your bank account by just even knowing your account number or something like that. So yeah, just to kind of reiterate that point that I think that is a very, very stupid stereotype for crypto, and I think we'll see more to be addressed with that hopefully in the next couple years. But so good. Continue.
Yeah, but it's interesting that you brought up about this Ethereum. It's not technically layer 2, but I'm gonna mention it's called like Tornado Cash. I don't know if you heard about it.
Yeah.
But for people listening, basically there is this because again everything is open, the blockchain. They created these smart contracts where you could basically mix your coins, right? So now you kind of have some level of anonymity. And what was, in my opinion, very again sad, but there was I think was the hack with X Infinity. I might be wrong, but there was some big hack that happened, and like some North Korean hackers or whatever, and then they were using this Tornado Cash on Ethereum to be able to clean their Ethereum, right, and be able to withdraw them. And now, I mean, I'm not following so much this situation, but at least like last I heard, the Tornado Cash was blocked like on the layer 1 level. So like all the Ethereum nodes would like be compliant with the US sanction list, which in my opinion is kind of crazy. Like, so the US sanction, like they made it illegal to interact, like any US citizen to interact with this contract in particular. I'm pretty sure the developer, like the guy that created an open source tool, right, to mix coins is not to do any crime. Like there are multiple legitimate use cases to have your privacy. But I'm pretty sure that the guy's in jail, and again, it's illegal to interact with this thing. And again, that's on the layer 1. So my point's like, Ethereum failed that.
They flagged any wallet that ever interacted with that has basically been flagged and has been they're going to follow track all your transactions and investigate you to see if you're gonna have any link to like yeah, North Korea or
Yeah,
whatever.
but that was funny because and then you had all these people. Okay, like so they would use the Tornado Cash and then send their like I don't know like 0.001 ETH to all the actors and politicians, right? Like so now everybody's flagged because you cannot decline a transaction to arrive to
Right.
you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but my point is like see the layer one failed. Like we have like the censorship on the layer one level, so like that's again that's nasty. And I mean I don't know exactly what the problem. I blame proof of stake. I don't think that that would be that easy to do on Bitcoin, for example, but who knows.
I'm sure they'll figure out a way, right? If you can't control it, they don't want it out in the world. So
Yeah, but anyway, my point is like I think with gaming we're gonna face like similar problems, right? It's just because it's just like not big enough. But uh yeah, like but and also about being open. That's what I'm saying. Like ideally, I don't think everything should be open. Like so, for example, with Monero, you can opt to show, right? So everything is private by default, but you can show if you want to do so. And for example, for games, that's also problematic. Like I even for Splinterlands, for example, I think if you can see everybody's cards, it's not that it's bad or good, but it's definitely like a characteristic to have in mind, right? Like you're gonna play the game different. So for example, maybe you can find out which opponent you're playing, and you can see his whole collection, and you can definitely like narrow down what plays that he can do. So that's only possible again because we're making everything open kind of by by default, even without thinking, just because we have this mentality that blockchain is open. It's like no, not necessarily. And to be honest, I don't even think it should. And it's even funny because like, man, Splinterlands is so much closer to Web 2 than Web 3. Like it's, to be honest, it's basically Web 2 with like a crypto integration, right? Like everything is run on the decentralized servers, right? Like Hive. I don't know if people realize that because I hear everybody talking on it, yeah, on YouTube videos. They're like, oh, everything is on the blockchain. I was like, no, like almost nothing is on the blockchain. All the battles off chain. A bunch of the transactions, sure, it is on chain, but like a lot of the times you don't know what happens. So let's say if I put a card for sale, and on the same block, yeah, you two try to buy the same card. Like only one can succeed, right? Like there's only that card with that ID. So Splinterlands, like so the centralized server is gonna be the source of truth, and they're like who actually bought the card, right? So you still, man, like Hive is basically like a glorified messaging thing, right? I think Splinterlands could run perfectly fine on, I don't know, on Facebook. Right? You could submit your transactions to Facebook, and then the game would run your the text on Facebook, and it would end up basically being the same. So yeah, my point's like you don't need, if you're gonna go to the. I'm very curious how they're gonna do with the nodes, because again, like that for me, like that was the most exciting part. It was kind of sad that I think Hardpoint is not working there anymore, and nodes were basically shelved, right? Because back up, I would say like I'm praising Splinterlands a lot, but yeah, a lot of that was part about the DAO, about the nodes system. But again, now we have soulbound cards. We have people talking about the images, the IP of the Splinterlands, right? The all the banning bots for me, that's again massive red flag. I mean, I understand why they did it. I know it was based on the community proposal, and again, in my in my opinion, there the DAO have failed, because like I don't think banning bots is the solution long term, right? Because again, if you really want to achieve the Web3, you cannot. I mean, you can, but again, it's so difficult. I think it's just easier to make the game design decisions. And yeah, man, I don't know how long that's gonna last, because yeah, like bots are inevitable. I think I have a conspiracy theory here that the reason they got Sylar in is because I don't think we're gonna get any new bot developers in Splinterlands, right? Like I think everyone that was playing Splinterlands, like all these new players are already here, right? Like, so I don't think any new bot developers are gonna come. And then if they are redoing this new player experience, and they're talking about like getting funding, almost, at least the way I read it is almost like they paid Sylar to like, yo man, just give us like a clean city for 6 months so we can we can expand, we can get new players, we can get other thing going, and then the bots is not causing so much problem. So it's almost like, yeah, okay, I'll pay you to stop for a while, and as a benefit, again, you can deter the other potential existing bot developers. But again, I just don't like the solution on the fundamental level. But yeah, but I understand it.
Let's unpack that a little bit. So, and I get where you're coming from, saying that they shouldn't have gone forward with that. And I know in your video you talk about how it's, it's like the war on drugs, right? It's going to be, so hard to kind of police this and stamp this out that you're just going to spend, resources that should be better spent elsewhere. Which is, I honestly thought that when this whole thing first got going, right? I thought that it's going to be a disaster for the team. It's going to make things ugly, and it's going to, they're not going to have the resources, or it'll spend them to force them to spend resources that they should have spent someplace else. We're in a different, we're further down that path now anyway. So that's kind of doesn't matter. But so from your perspective, and I know because you have thought about this and looked into this and know way more about this than I do, and I kind of buy into that are they just paying Sylar to just not do what he was doing before, right? Like, and that's going to shut down the bots, right? But what, let's say that's not it. Like, what is it that he's going to be able to do, right? That's gonna find bots or deter bots. Like, what actions could he take, or what could he do?
Okay, I'll tell on my perspective first, but then I'll think about what would work for other people. So for example, okay, why don't I run bots then? Like, to be honest, I thought really long and hard about that, because I was like, okay, I want to improve Web3 games, right? And I don't see it going like in the direction that I want. One solution is like, okay, let me just create a bunch of bots in all these games, or at least the ones that make sense, like the cost benefits is good. Then I'll make a bunch of money, and then I use that money to fund the initiatives to make the Web3 better, right? And Splinterlands is a very good candidate for that. Like, I think the rewards it is quite good, but the problem with that, for me, the main problem is two. Like, there's the opportunity cost, right? Because like, if you're using our time to develop bots, you're not using our time to actually like making good projects to improve the Web3 in the first place, right? So there is that. And also I think there is the reputation aspect as well, because sure, I think again, ideally in the Web3 utopia, everyone should bot if they can, and it should be completely, again, should not even have these laws saying what it can and cannot be done. It shouldn't have like a terms of service. It should just have the game, and if you can do it in the game, you can do it, period, right? But I mean, we're still humans, right? I think that the social aspect and the optics, it's important. So, for example, if Sylar wants to say like, hey guys, I'm gonna do like a crypto game, I think he would have a hard time like getting people behind it, just because of his reputation of like almost like people saying like he ruined the game. Like, I mean, you can put a spin on that. You can say like, oh, he's just making bad projects fail faster. I could argue for that, but anyway, that's kind of like my reason why I don't think running bots is the way to go. But I mean, if you only care about money, to be honest, yes, I think that's a good project to do. And as you say, like how are they gonna police that? Again, I don't think they can. It's just a cat and mouse game. It's very difficult. Like if your opponent is like it's skilled enough, it's definitely, I think, in the bot farmer favor, right? Because essentially, like how especially in a game so simple like Splinterlands. Okay, I'll give you one example about, because I mean I did bot on Splinterlands. I did create a bunch of tools. I did bot other games as well. I did develop bots before, but normally like it's more like research purpose. And a lot of, okay, I'll give you an example. I was botting on Splinter Forge, and the guy was like, in the I check like, okay, are they okay with bots? And they're kind of like, oh, we don't have a stance on that. I was like, okay, fine. It took like 1 hour to build a bot on Splinter Forge because like you just submitted the same team over and over. It's very like no brainer, at least back in the time. But then they like, okay, we don't want bots. I was like, okay, fine. Like I understand. Again, I'm gonna move on from this project again because like I don't see like if this is the route you're going. Like again, I kind of like don't even want to participate. The Splinterlands is kind of like the exception because again, first it was a community decision. I don't think Matt. I think Matt still shares the opinion that again in this Web3 scenario we would have bots, but also you kind of in this weird position where the DAO, which is a decentralized thing, said that they want to ban bots. But then, what are you gonna do? So I think you still have to abide by that in this like, transition. But man, like that, I don't see. I personally, as I highlighted in the video that you guys mentioned before, I think I went through like I don't know, like 10 different ways that you could detect bot. And to be honest, there are many other bots, but like there's always a way around it, and it boils down to like, is it gonna be economically viable, right? Every time you introduce a mechanism to police the bots, no, you're increasing your cost, right? Again, similar to war on drugs. Okay, now you hire like you spend more money on the police, and then you buy boats to go like to patrol the coast and all that kind of stuff. So like you increase like a lot of the cost, and sure, you're increasing now I don't know, the smuggler will need to go on a longer route on dig some tunnels, whatever they do, right? So like you definitely increase the cost of the bot operators, but like fundamentally like you're increasing the cost for everybody else. And normally, like again, the humans cannot really compete with like, but man, servers are so cheap. Like you can run I don't know how many accounts on per machine, and that includes like if you're buying multiple games, right? Like there's definitely like economies of scale and like benefits that you can use. So let's say if they're banning your IP, you can use one IP per game, but like if you're botting on 10 games, you can still use the same machine to bot on 10 different games using the same IP, let's say. So that's my point. I'm really curious what Sylar is gonna come up with, like to police. But to be honest, I don't even think there's gonna be that much policing, because I don't think we have these great bot developers that are interested and that have all the knowledge to do so.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, it's one thing where if you were doing it before and you have the sunk costs, but yeah, like you said, with the, we're not even getting SBS in chess anymore. We're not, there's no cards you can get that you can sell from playing. So kind of, yeah, the incentives to come in and set up that kind of operation seems like it would be pretty small. And yeah, and then with the sort of the kind of personalized bots where, yeah, we have, the people who have the tokens of Archmage and Xbot, they're kind of already here and already kind of had that first mover advantage. So,
I mean, I want to call out bots when we look at the market. We were in the bear for what, since end of or very beginning of 2022, end of 2021. And the market, for a long time, we kept hearing that Splinterlands was kind of living in its own bubble. We were bear proof. Assets maintained value. Queen Mycelia, which was still available in packs from that were available on shelves in the store, were still going for $20 a BCX. Chaos Legion Summoners were coming out the gate above that $20 price mark. I mean, I think I maxed out personally Lily, for example, for like $28-$29 a BCX. It wasn't until the bot ban came in that really stole the legs out of the market continuing to stand. So, I think objectively you could say bots are good for the ecosystem. It's awful and shit for the experience because we can't win when we're banging our head against, the ever powerful AI that is Battle Helper and or bots. So I really appreciate your perspective that, we should stop trying to police the bots, and instead we should adjust the game to give humans the upper hand. And
Exactly.
and I want to say I don't know what Sylar's role is. I don't think any of us have heard a clear definition of what is his role. So I made some suggestions to some folks, Azrakan and Dave, if you guys are listening. I talked to both of you guys about this, about something that I would love to see is in this upcoming town hall that's currently scheduled for next Thursday, a week from today. I would love to see Sylar come on, open his camera, talk to the community, introduce himself, explain what is the definition of his role, and I would love to hear that role entails not playing police. I'm not hired as the good guy trying to catch the bad guys. I'm trying to solve the equilibrium. How do I create equal ground for human and bot? And in fact, how do I turn the table to give the human the advantage, a la your video, GB? How do we start to turn the table and give the the higher ground to the human players of the game? And then we can start to, if we're able to effectively do that, I would be completely okay with allowing bots to come back into the game. It would be great for the ecosystem. It would be great for the market. It would spike demand on SPS. I mean, obviously, hypothetically, we've lost a lot of folks, but being able to reintroduce for purely the DeFi perspective, if that's the path that you want to pursue, would do good things for the game. We saw it for a really long time, and we saw the repercussions of removing that. So GB, let's talk specifically about some of the things that, not what we can do to police bots, but what can we do to empower the human player. So there's a couple of ideas that come to my mind, and shout out to Infidel. I know he did a video kind of calling out your one of your suggestions, but number one, do you kind of agree with what I'm saying, with respect to Sylar and his role and what you would like to see from him in the future?
I mean, to be completely honest, again, I don't. I'm mostly just curious to see how is he gonna do it. But to be honest, again, I don't really care, because again, I don't think that's the way to go. As I say, I think the way to go is to do the mechanics. I think we should be talking about like how we're gonna do mechanics, as I say, like that give humans the upper hand. And
well, hold on, GB. So do you think that could be part of the reason of Sylar's hiring? I mean, I know you shared your conspiracy theory earlier,
I think he was mostly like hired as like more like the police. Okay, like let's clean the bot act. I could be wrong. Again, maybe he has some good game design ideas that. But that's the thing with Splinterlands. Like, I think the game is so convoluted. It's actually it's quite hard for it to move. So even if you come up with any good ideas, like it's not that they're gonna get even tested, or not even say like implemented, because there's so so many system kind of like again entangled, and yeah, I think it's difficult to make it. Man, like again, like how many times people are asking for, I don't know, like simple filters. Just can we get like some filter to not show starter cards, and like, oh, I guess we're understaffed. Like, yeah, that's nice to have, but we're not gonna do it. So for like this big ideas that sometimes would need a bigger pivot, right? Because again, I like the base of Splinterlands. I think the foundation is good, but it's still very convoluted game. So it's almost like you need to, in my opinion, right, like you need to simplify the game just to be able to move and go into that Web3 direction faster. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do. It's like, okay, like I'm trying to do like two things: putting my ideas out there, because again, I want everybody to, if any other games wants to implement that, like great, again, we're speeding up the process. But at the same time, okay, I'm building my games just to like almost like serve as an example. Sure, I don't have a big follower or anything, but I mean, we can, I mean, soon, like the games are still in testing, but like soon I think you can at least like see some examples, right? And sure, I'm be completely wrong, right? I'm seeing like, oh, I'm making this game is so great, and then the bots are gonna come and still find a way and destroy it. Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. But again, I'm coming from this the core ideas of the videos that we still can do things better than bots. But yeah, back about Splinterlands, I think, yeah, Sylar was basically just a police. And back and also Infidel, you mentioned, yeah, he highlighted one idea in my video, but I think it's important to notice, because in the comments there, like I think some people correctly said that, oh, that's not gonna work. If you make the game more complex, you're gonna give actually bots the advantage. But I don't think you can use just one idea as like one silver bullet, right? Like it's not like that a position ability is like, if you just implemented that, sure, it will not solve the bot problem by itself, right? You kind of need to embrace the whole thing. So for example, if you're gonna introduce that, or whatever you're gonna introduce that is makes the game more complex, you also need to introduce like some system to, again, to digest like a lot of data for the humans to be able to be on the same level. In the video, I used the example of the poker heads up, right? Because that's basically it. Like, so you, in a way, like you're using the computer's powers, but you, the human, as a tool, right? So you are digesting all this like past history that you have, the hands that you played in poker, and because you have, I don't know, like 10 seconds to act, you are still on the same level of the computer. You can kind of, you're gonna arrive at better decisions than the computer. But sure, if you just implement one idea, that's not gonna work. That's my point. I just need to embrace the Web3 mentality.
Yeah, I want to know, because you keep mentioning that you think Splinterlands it's too convoluted. Like, what parts of the game specifically do you think that are convoluted and that should be simplified?
Okay, man,
Happy, you just opened a can of worms, bro.
yeah.
No,
Look,
it doesn't have to be a big. I mean, I want to hear. I mean,
no.
I want to
Okay,
hear. I expect your opinion.
Very clear, because I tried onboarding like multiple friends from different backgrounds. I tried onboarding them on Splinterlands, and man, like Splinterlands is such a great game, right? Like it has these short battles, which again is good. Maybe some people don't have the time. It has the skill cap, right? Like you can definitely get good at the game. That's good. Again, a good community. If you don't like to play in the game, you can play the market. Again, you can play on the browser. You have like tournaments. Man, like the game should be like such an easy sell, right? Like you can earn money from playing the game. Like it should be like a no-brainer. How I cannot onboard anyone in the game to stick like that by itself is such a big tell, right? And I think it's because, again, the game is very convoluted. So if you follow the onboarding experience, right, it's okay. First, okay, you start with your email and password, but now you play with starter cards, you're gonna play novice, and immediately you're gonna get destroyed as soon as you leave novice, right? Because you have starter cards, and then you're facing like almost like, especially now, almost like max level decks straight out of the gate, right? So how and my solution, I think, okay, we should leverage the rental system, and actually that's one of the reasons, man. Like you just need like the one click rental, like that's actually how I was like helping my friends. I was like, okay, like before I was using Pick Monsters because they have a deck system as well, but like first I would need to go there and craft the deck myself and like share them the link and say and tell like, oh, okay, like when you rent and then it doesn't go through, maybe you need to remove this card. Again, it's just to rent the cards with like you need to use a third party system, right? There also has some issues, and to do that, now you need the Hive keychain, right? Like you need to have your keys. So I would do like, okay, I would create the account. I would get the crypto myself, right? To fund their accounts, and say, okay, just download this extension, put your posting key here. Okay, now you go to this third-party website just so you can rent the cards, just so you can start playing, right? So like that's and now it's even funny. So like they're playing the game, and now they get SPS as staked reward. So like immediately, like they hit like a wall because like the loop doesn't close, right? Like they're playing, and then they get the currencies that they cannot use to upgrade their cards, like to rent or to continue renting, because it's stake. Now, well, like you need to use. I think Export has a feature as well that you can delegate your rewards, and that they're gonna give you like liquid SPS. But you see, like that's okay. That's a good example. If there is this third party website that is just gonna give you liquid SPS for like 5% fee, why doesn't the game do that? Like just add the 5% fee yourself. Like just why you're preventing players from playing? You see, like it feels very Ponzi, right? Like why are you locking my tokens, or why 30 days? Like it's so weird, right? And again, continue. If you add the soulbound cards on top of that, that's also because I had like many people like, oh, why I cannot use this card? I was like, okay, that's a gladiator card. Oh, okay, what about this card? Like, oh no, that's a soulbound card. You see the chain back down there. How do I get that? That's from the chest. That's you need to go the brawl. Okay, how do I join the brawl? Okay, I need to join a guild. Okay, can I join the guild? Like, no one is gonna hire you because you are bad at the game, right? So like and the positions in the guilds are very fixed, is very related to the brawls. So again, this is like look at the so many that you need to unpack just to kind of start playing the game. Like this, there's so much room like to simplification. And when the team is talking about like the new player experience, they talk about like, I don't know, like having like an avatar or some tutorials where you click a button and it show text. Like, okay, like that's good, but I don't see that being the problem. Like again, it's I almost want to say the game is unplayable. Like if you don't have someone onboarding you, like if you just stumble upon Splinterlands, like you found it like on some website, and okay, I'm gonna play this game, man, I would be really surprised, especially if you're not like a tech savvy. Like yeah, you're gonna have a hard time playing that.
Yeah, that sentiment is not lost on me. I mean, Hep, we've talked ad nauseum about that. The only reason that I was able to stick is because, you know, my buddy Waskell, I was able to give him, you know, I pretty much had him on speed dial for the first couple of weeks when I was just starting to play the game. Just because I had a litany of new questions every time I would open up and try and understand what was happening. And you call out specifically the onboarding experience. You know, my question, what onboarding experience? It's pretty much I mean, it's laughable. So I mean, there's any improvement is going to be a massive improvement in terms of the player experience, new player experience. I'm hoping that Nate and co can really you know, put some rubber on the road in terms of ramping up. What does it look like in your first 24 hours in Splinterlands, and they're, you know, going from there, what does that first 30 days look like? You know, the the SPS delegation rental stuff, that's a huge piece that I feel like needs to be addressed. We shouldn't be, it's great that we've got places like Peak Monsters and what Xbot has done, tangentially to the Battle Helper bot side of the business with the liquid rewards and the battle vision, all of this other stuff. But a lot of that stuff should live in game. And even if it's porting what already exists on these third-party markets and making it available within the Splinterlands website. And then if you're trying to play the game without Discord, good luck, man. Like there's when is the last time that you guys have ever used in-game chat in Splinterlands? If
ever, with chat.
What in-game chat?
Yeah, exactly.
You mean like the random the guild one? There's the guild one that no one.
I mean, yes, that's exactly my point.
Right, yeah.
So you've got to go to all of these different places, and a lot of this stuff you don't really realize until you're already entrenched in the gaming stuff, which is already, like you said, on the surface, it's a simple, fun game. But once you start to sink your teeth into like how do the wheels start moving on this thing, all of a sudden you realize you've got to have your fingers in a million different pies to really make the most of your experience here. Man, okay. Well, and I want to quickly clarify, I don't think we called out what exactly Infidel was highlighting in his video, but the idea was, kind of and feel free to correct me, GB, but the idea was essentially either a weekly or bi-weekly rotating ability that's fixed to a particular position in your lineup. So for example, this week would have in the second position, every monster would have taunt. Whether or not that's that's the ability that's given to the monster per the card, you could essentially play a fiend in the second position, and because of this universal rule set that would sit on top of the game by game 2-3 rule sets, your second position monster, the fiend in this example, would have a taunt. Is that, am I articulating that correctly?
I mean, you kind of mix both two suggestions into one, but I mean the idea is still kind of the same. So one is this rotating like weekly thing. The idea is to just make like the past data useless, right? Because like if you have the thing that is never gonna get repeated, so like it happens one week and then it's never gonna happen again. So like the bots cannot use that data to train. Yeah, to train an AI, or just to use just use the previous data somehow, right? But the idea that Infidel highlighted on his video was specific, like an ability, a position, like you having an ability in a specific position randomly. So every the same way you have like random rule sets in the battles, also kind of like on top of that, you also have abilities in specific positions, right? And that was just to illustrate that you can make game designs that are easy to digest to humans, right? So like again, now you have you have the battle rule sets, but you don't have like 10 different rule sets, man. Imagine how complex it would be like to have like 10 battle rule sets. Like you cannot wrap your head around it, but you can wrap your head around like two battle rule sets, and as you say, like, okay, you have a taunt in the second position. That's very easy to understand, right? But then if you look at the math behind it, it's for the bots is a lot more complex. So it's actually, so that's the point. It's like it's easier for the humans, but it's the math behind it, the total amount of battles that would be possible, that bots would number. Man, I'm getting dyslexia. The bots would number to crunch like the numbers. That would be more complex for the bots. So yeah, that's the whole idea.
Well, is it possible to limit the historical data that the bots even have access to in the first place? Like, why isn't that?
I mean, I mentioned that briefly in the video, but like, sure, you could, but in reality, not really, because again, Splinterlands is running their own private service, right? So you can go and ask your past history to their server, and they say like, no, I'm not gonna give it to you, or I'm gonna say I'm only gonna give you the past 10 battles, whatever, right? But that's my point. But like you are limiting the good player benefits for that for the good players as well, right? Because now, let's say if you want to check your friend's battle history, now you can't because you're limited to, like, let's say this very few battles to trying to prevent the bots. And to be honest, like that wouldn't even make any sense, because the whole point is like if you have a bot farm, by definition, it means like it's a farm. Like you have like hundreds of thousands of bots. So every battle that these bots play, you would have the history, right? Because like as you're playing, you are recording the battle. So you would build a huge data set real quick, like by playing 50 battles per day on 10,000 bots. Man, like you get into millions of battles like really fast. Even if you're just even if they didn't even show your battle history, even if you just completely banned the battle history, like I didn't show you at all. If you just have access to the battle you're playing, yeah, you can build a history incredibly fast.
So GB, can you clarify? So I see what you're saying now that I mixed the two. So kind of the ability per position, that would be part of the rule set, quote unquote. And then there was the other idea where I think you used the rat, week of the rat as
But
okay.
Yeah, but that's the point. It's just an idea. Like I'm not saying like Splinterlands should implement these ideas. This is the best idea ever. Like no, like it's just to illustrate. Again, like you come up with 10 other ideas that follow the same principle that could be implemented Splinterlands. Just choose two that I happen to like. But yeah, it's not like this is the silver bullet to get rid of the bots and Splinterlands. No, I think we should talk. Like again, let's come up with ideas together, like get everybody like trying to battle test it. Like maybe we should have like a QA server, right, where it's open to everyone all the time, where you can come up with all these crazy ideas, and then we can see if it works or not. Because like in practice you can always see like you always like overlook something, right? And then you can actually like okay, no, the bots could still crunch like doing this and that, right? So but yeah, it's just to illustrate the principle.
Man, I feel like that would be the most valuable first fork of Splinterlands. Is just a sandbox, rewards free, where you can trial and error all this sort of stuff. If you come up with a new rule set idea or a new ability set idea, or you want to adjust some mechanics, just go in and screw around. You're not going to earn anything, but it gives you a chance to play your cards all day long, have fun, talk shop, and it would provide crazy data for the team. But yeah, to your point, GB, man, I understand that you're not suggesting any one of these ideas as necessarily the silver bullet for solving bots, but embracing the philosophy of game design adjustments as the solution to bots versus let's build bigger, badder police as the solution to solving bots. I think is a very, very important distinction that we need to kind of come to terms with and embrace. And to be fair, I feel like that was and Hep, I think this is something that we've talked about and that I know really, really kind of drove you crazy, was the introduction of the third rule set. That was Matt's game design solution to bots, but
I don't think. I mean, yeah, no, I know it was kind of sold as that, but I think I think it worked out well for this case. I think they knew it would provide more use cases for a lot of the other cards, right?
Also true.
Yeah, I think that's what they were more focused. I think that's what they were more focused on. I think they was kind of sold as that, but yeah, no, yeah. Sorry,
I mean, yeah, but that was still a game design approach to whether it was sold on the surface as one way or the other. Is not really my point. My point is more that it was the game design adjustment, and I feel like moving back towards that philosophy as a community instead of F the bots and oh, you're cheat. I mean, it's still gonna happen. I think as much as it, yeah, as much as hiring Sylar, we would like to believe is going to solve everything. We know for a fact that there's still guilds that have a private bot or a private battle helper, and for any capable developer out there who is currently playing the Splinterlands game, grows tired of playing, they can whip up a bot, I'm sure, and try and recreate what Sylar has done. I mean, GB, you said it took you an hour to create a bot for Splinter Forge. Like, good lord, man! Like, how are we ever going to solve the bot problem? If it's I would imagine it's a little bit more difficult with Splinterlands, but yeah, the point is, I don't think we're ever going to solve it. So changing the idea from instead of trying to police and punish, we should be moving to recreationalize and figure out how do we adjust the game design to embrace the humans instead of how it currently lives.
Yeah, and on top of that, I think there are not just the game mechanics, but we also can leverage like just the social part of the game, right? I think there are ways to add value to players that is only gonna be valuable for humans. I just say like, okay, the community side, or like some the tournament or something like that, right? Like that's the type of stuff that we can definitely do. And again, it doesn't even make sense to bot that, because again, like the value is like, intangible, right? Like, so I mean, one example, this is one
The elephant hat.
yeah, no, but the part of what I'm doing about like the tournament. So, for example, just shout out to the Team PH, because we're running these sealed tournaments, right? Which, in my opinion, is a really cool thing. Again, it's for humans, for the community. We're actually now like trying to make it almost like have this live experience, right? Like we're trying to, okay, how can we get like people as they like to open their cameras, open their mic, like go there, like play in this very, even it might not be like optimal to play. Again, if you think you're just like the cost benefit, like the profit per hour, like sure, you're not gonna is that's not the way to, that's not why you're playing that. It's not to make money. Again, it's to have fun, to make friends. And but to be honest, we're having to do a lot of gymnastics behind the scenes to make that happen, like just because of how the Splinterlands work. But we're trying something. It's kind of like in testing now. Almost, I'm gonna call the one click tournament. Okay, we have the one click rental. Now we're gonna have on Games on the Block the one click tournament as well. So ideally, like people would go there. Okay, I want to play the tournament on this day, and then boom, like instantly, like a Hive account is assigned to you. And a deck is rented with the draft mode, and people can go and play, right? And don't have like to keep like DMing people on Discord, like checking, oh, is it happening? Which time is it? So yeah, that's also like another example of things that I think we should be doing, like in Web3 in general, or again, just as players, right? Like just building these cool experiences that, yeah, especially Web3 can like provide, again, like because now it's easy to pay out prices. People can bet if they want to, right? Like it's again, it's very. I really like this freedom vision of people, just yeah, because that's kind of like how I felt like when I was a kid, like playing Pokemon and Magic, like that, like we had that again. I'm sounding like a broken record, but that's my point. Like we had all this stuff like 20 years ago. We don't have it anymore. But and now we even have crypto. Like man, like it's way past due. Like that we have this like global, like awesome game. Yeah.
Man, the one click tournament sounds awesome. Man, I would love to. That's something that I would love to do on the like battle royale. Huh? If
That'd be a
we
lot
could
of fun.
just, yeah, instead of doing challenges, we could all just sign in, ante in 100 SPS each, everybody gets allocated a random Hive account. Everybody gets randomly allocated cards, and then there's stakes on the line, and we have a real tournament with real earnings. And yeah, that would be fantastic, dude. I love that idea. Sorry to cut you off, Happy. Go ahead, man.
No, yeah, no. I think that would be a lot of fun. I think that's awesome. Yeah, I like you said, I don't know why we can't, and this came up with last week when we were talking with Mondroid too, is the sort of the pace at which things move. It seems like it's hard to get anything done, and people have these ideas, and once someone has an idea, then it's got to get the DAO, and everybody's got to have an opinion on it, and everybody's got to talk half the people why it's great, the other people why it's the worst thing ever, and then there's a vote. But like, why can't we have some sort of environment where we try these things out and see how they work, right? Is it just that is it the team doesn't have the resources? Is it that they just move too slow to be able to try to just have something where we're like, let's gonna try this season, we're gonna try this out and see how it goes. Okay, next season we're gonna try something new out and see how that works. What's your take on it as someone who knows more about working with this technology and building out these tools than I do?
Like, I think, like, if you just do like a bunch of changes all the time, that's actually not good, because like, I mean, it's definitely confusing for players where like everything's changed all the time. You cannot like, if you buy a card and then like immediately it gets changed, and then your card is worthless now. I really like, there is a game called Path of Exile. I don't know if you guys played it. So it's basically like the successor of Diablo, right? Because like Diablo 1, awesome. Diablo 2, awesome. Diablo 3, Diablo 4 is just straight up garbage. So anyway, like, you had like Path of Exile, which was kind of almost, you can almost see like as a fork of Diablo, right? So what they do is they have these seasons, right? Like, so you have the main game, which is constantly happen, but you have these seasons where they try crazy stuff, right? So it's like, and everybody starts back from scratch, right? So it's also really good because you have like a fresh economy. You create a new character, and it's like, okay, like this time I'm gonna build this like lightning archer. I'm gonna try this different stuff. Like, so you have this excuse to create a new character, but like they put like some crazy idea, right? There's some random mechanics that might not necessarily work. Like, sometimes the idea sucks. Like, nobody likes it, but sometimes the idea is really good. And then if the idea is really good, they kind of like integrate that into the main game, right? So you kind of have this playroom, right? Like, where you can try these different ideas, but it's still part of the game. It's not just a keyway server, right? Where like there are no rewards or anything. Like, it is part of the game, but again, it's based on the design. And then again, they try all the ideas, and the good ones, they get implemented. So yeah, I think that's I don't know, probably like one of the best approaches that I've seen in games.
Yeah,
We've
I'd love
heard
to see something like that.
Yeah, man, I feel like a sandbox is absolutely necessary, and that exists to some degree with the Mav server, but it's still really slow to get there, right? And it's a natural progression of, okay, it's in testing internally, and then it moves to the Mav server, and it's cyclical, right? Feedback gets delivered, it gets sent back to internal testing, back to Mav server, before eventually making to production and what we see in ranked or tournaments or whatever. We've heard Matt talk about, kind of his grander vision of he's huge on decentralization, as we've called out a couple of times on this episode. But and with that in mind, he's called out his vision of having future Splinterlands forks be possible and embraced. Why don't we have, like, what's preventing the sandbox from being created? Why is it so difficult to potentially fork Splinterlands into something like a rewards-free sandbox?
Okay, I mean, for example, I'm building other games. Like, why I'm not forking Splinterlands? Because I think that's I'm not gonna lie, I think it's actually easier to create a new game from scratch than it is to fork Splinterlands, because if you're trying to fork Splinterlands, you're still like, again, trying to navigate on like this limited stuff that's out there. You need to do a lot of reverse engineering. So for example, the battle code is not open source, right? Sure, you could definitely like replicate, like you could create your own like battle engine from scratch. Like this is not difficult to do, right? But my point is, like, I don't see why people would fork Splinterlands if it's in this position that it's not easy to fork, right? Like, so you do have some games, like as I mentioned, like Splinter Forge, or nowadays talk about Splinter Royale. I still haven't played this one, but it's on my list. It's not like a fork of Splinterlands. It's just using the same assets, because like that is pretty easy, right? Like, again, you just check the cards that people have, and then you have this game on top of it, but they're still gonna have their own token. They're gonna have this extra mechanics. So at this point, I almost feel like, what is the point? Like, if you're using like all this effort, like, just, in my opinion, and that's what I did, just make the game from scratch, and and see how it goes. But I don't know, if Matt is listening, man, just open source the code. I mean, I see like there is a potential like security issue. Like, if the code was like kind of done in it has like evolved like throughout the years, right? So it might not, if you just overnight say like, okay, we're gonna open source everything, then you're probably gonna run into like some hacks or some nasty stuff. But I mean, definitely things, I think it could be open source, like little by little. So for example, the battle open sourcing the battle, you just, in my opinion, would make it better. You can say, oh, it's gonna be easier for like making bots. Like, sure, but I mean, come on, like there are a bunch of even like open source community alternative of kind of like this battle engine, as you say, like expat-life as battle vision. So again, it's just a deterrent. And plus, like, again, the community could double check, like if there is any bug in the battles, right? Like, I don't know how many people complain like that, I don't know, dodge is broken, right? Like how come I can get like dodge like 10 times in a row every single day? Like, there must be something, there must be some bug in the code. But yeah, if you can look at the code exactly, then yeah, you can solve all these issues. So yeah, I don't know. I don't see many downsides of open sourcing the code. And actually, that's my plan. So, for example, one of the games that I'm doing, I deliberately chose the Go engine. I don't know if all the game designers are listening, but like, normally people hear about like Unity and Unreal 5, right? But these are also like proprietary software. So like, again, if you go like the full Web3 route, I mean, you can do like something like Splinterlands is doing, which is basically like just web, right? Like I don't know, HTML5 or something. But if you're gonna like go like on a to have like better visuals, like and effects and everything, you kind of need an engine. And then Godot is open source. Like, the whole engine is open source. So I found like very cool, like to. And I hope more people are gonna be doing that, because like, not only like you can make the game open source and the whole engine is open source, and again, if anyone wants to fork it, they don't need to be worried about like the Unity license or some other stuff that is kind of connected to the legacy system.
So yeah, I mean, so how many games are you currently developing right now, and what kind of games are they?
So there are two. One is actually, I mean, okay, I'll just start. So there's one called Oko. There is it's working. Like, again, it's tested. Like there is can even see like videos of me playing against the Moor on the website. If you go to GamesOnTheBlock, there's a link there for the white paper. But the issue is, again, like, with this engine, it's because it's kind of new, like, it doesn't fully support web, And so now I'm kind of waiting to, because again, I don't want people to have to download a game client from some random guy, right? So I think it's like a prerequisite to be on web. So like, okay, this game is really cool. It's similar to Splinterlands. I mean, I really like idle games. I think my favorite one was like even like a mobile game called like Idle Heroes. Yeah. So anyway, it's still kind of like is a similar style to Splinterlands, where you still have your cards and you battle, but it's definitely more focused on, I think, on there's the PvE aspect, right? Because I think that's important. I think trying to do like rewards solely on PvP, it's so easy to exploit, because you can have like win trading, right? You can have on tournaments and whatnot. So anyway, that's one game. I think it's really cool. I'm really excited, but yeah, it's kind of like on this pause state because I cannot export properly to web. But the second one, it's on the website, but the version right there is really simple. You can go like, it's called Unbound, but it's very simple right now. You just have your units. It's kind of like an army game. So you have your units and you fight the boss. But again, fighting a boss is basically just click one button. But man, next week, I mean, actually, I'm not gonna promise, but yeah, at least the plan is next week. I'm gonna like already did like there is a whole revamp on the Games on the Block website. There is a huge update on the Unbound, where like now units are gonna have like stats. You can trade them. You can burn. Like the whole market is gonna be up. Yeah, and even now, like I mean, I didn't mention this game to people. I didn't teach them how to play, and have like people playing the game. It's not many, but there's, I don't know, like 10 people playing the game with no rewards, no anything. Like once I actually like put rewards on the leaderboard, I think it's gonna take off, right? But yeah, these are the two main games. But again, one is paused. Unbound is next week is gonna have a huge update. But on top of that, I also have like some tools. Like I have like a faucet that I was doing with Team PH, but the next plan next plan is to expand it to even like Splinterlands and for my other games as well, or for other crypto communities that want to be on that. There's a huge revamp, and that might interest you guys as well, on the content creators, right? Because I created a content creator directory, so people can see like all these like Web3 creators, and mostly focus on Splinterlands for now. But yeah, I mean, so far it's really simple. But like in next week, you're gonna see like all their platforms, right? Okay, like here's the link to their YouTube, like X, Twitch, and they're gonna have like an intro video on the website. Like you can watch on the website. You have like the profile picture, the challenges. Oh no, not challenges. The description. Yeah, so you see, like this is very bare bones. So in the next update, you will be able to expand. So you almost like you click like a arrow down, and then you're gonna see like a description of the channel. You're gonna see their picture. You're gonna see like an intro video, and then you're gonna be able to filter again, like by language, by games that they play, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's many improvements to the website. Just again trying to help with this like Web3, like not only by like making games, again just as an example what I think is a good idea, but also with tools that might be useful for the whole community.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely good stuff for people to check out.
I'd like to hear your thoughts, and Hep, you in particular, because throughout the bot era of Splinterlands, you refused to ever buy a token. I think it wasn't until way later that you finally bought an expat token to bot in Wild when you didn't have time to play. But if we're able to successfully kind of turn the tables and give advantage back to humans through things like these game design tweaks, would you be opposed to allowing bots coming back into the game? I mean, I'd like to, I realize that's a really big, what if question, but
Yeah.
on the surface, and maybe I want to circle back to something else I mentioned earlier. Maybe I'm misremembering the timing of when things started to when the wheels started to fall off of the Splinterlands card market. It if my memory serves, it was pretty much directly correlated with no bot modern coming into play, and a lot of bots, losing the ability to play and earn in modern, and therefore we started to see real dips in the card market. But yeah, so do you have an idea that you'd be comfortable in sharing, Het?
I mean, like I said before, I wasn't like against having bots in modern to begin with. I played mostly in wild, and it was like, it was nice. Like, I think I've said this before. I may even talked about this last week, that the rewards in wild were better per win because there's more bots in modern, and you could craft decks you had more options for how your deck was crafted, right? And you could craft, I felt that I could craft a deck that could be very competitive and win matches even against the bots that were in wild, and just based on the different cards you could have, right? Because when you have more options for cards, assuming that the people who are botting are not having all the cards, right? And a lot of the bigger bot farms had just the kind of Chaos Legion decks because they were cheapest. And so yeah, I was never super against it in the beginning. And yeah, I think it was just it's something that the community wanted, and we wanted to implement that, and that's fine. So I wouldn't, and so then if it was something that the community thought that it would be okay to bring it back, I would be fine with it as well. I just don't see that happening. I just think it's kind of one of those changes where it's like, how are you going to put that toothpaste back in the tube? I just don't think you would get the communities. I don't see the reasoning behind allowing it back that the community would support. Especially
asset values. I think asset values has to be the cornerstone of that argument, and embracing the DeFi ability. That was never why I wanted to be a part of Splinterlands, but that was obviously based on the market reaction. That was obviously a significant draw for a good chunk of people here. And embracing, to GB's point, that's Web3. That's the decentralization, right?
Yeah. GB, what do you think?
Yeah, so touch on this when you talk about like asset values. Man, I think that's really important, right? Again, like this, having the ownership, right? Again, as you feel like you own the cards is super important. And back to like Pokemon or Magic the Gathering days, I feel that like the reason, okay, we had like these sets, right? Like, so like the system definitely works. Like you can release like expansions, you sell sets again and again, and sure, you can hold the card in your hand, but I think that's a little bit like outdated, because that was the only way, right? Like you cannot update a card because you needed to actually like physically print it like and ship it somewhere. So you kind of need to print new cards anyway. So if you're gonna print new cards anyway, might as well like doing a new expansion or whatever, right? But like now everything is online, everything is easy to change. I'm not a big fan of like having these like infinite expansions with like these release schedules. And so, for example, one thing that Splinterlands does with asset values, which again, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but like it definitely plays on the scarcity note, right? It's saying like, okay, like it's only gonna have like this amount of cards, and you kind of need to like push and shove and then fight over that, and like that can
whose voice are you channeling there, GB? I can't quite put my I can't put my finger on it, brother.
Oh, did I do a good impression? Okay, okay. No, but that's my point. Like, I think that is a good gameplay. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's not wrong. Like, that can be a way to play the game. Like, but I think you need to, okay, if that's the gameplay, you need to go all in on that. Okay, if cards are scarce, okay, then make a set amount of cards, and that's it. Like, it doesn't matter the amount of your player base. Just let them fight over the cards, and then the market's gonna adjust itself, right? But at the point when you start to, like, you have scarce cards, but then you're trying to guess your players and release cards accordingly. Now I think now that's bad, because you cannot have both, right? Because, like, again, either the cards are scarce or you're gonna print a bunch to match the player base, and now they're not scarce anymore, right? But, like, how do you, if you're trying to do this to follow the dynamic player base, right? Like, again, because the player base is gonna shrink, it's gonna expand for a billion reasons, right? So either you have a system that matches that. So, for example, I mean, they do use systems like that. So, like when you buy energy, or you buy, like, the glint draws, right? Like, you have these batches, right? So you keep increasing the price. So one solution would be like, okay, you always have I don't know, untamed packs available forever, right? But they keep increasing price. So, like, every 1 million packs sold, let's say you increase the price by $1, like, whatever, I'm just throwing numbers here. The point is, like, okay, now you can follow. If the player base expands, the people that got it first is gonna have an advantage, but, like, you're following my points. Like, you're following the growth of the player base, right? But another idea, which is, again, just go all in on this, like, just print every time. I was like, every expansion, 1 million packs, let players fight over it. My point's like, I think you need to choose. You cannot do both. Then you're gonna have kind of like the worst of both worlds in a way.
I really like that approach, man. And to your point, Hep, I don't know if it's a matter of kind of, and I'm not saying I'm pro bot, anti bot, whatever. I think ultimately I'm pro human, and having that experience be fun for, however you choose to come in and enjoy the game. I will say that for a really long time, it was not fun competing in Modern, because you were almost guaranteed to be playing a bot that was going to, hand it to you. So it was just more effective to turn over the piloting of my account to a bot that was going to, essentially ROI my account for me to the best of its abilities. So I don't think it's really a matter of putting the toothpaste back in the bottle, as much as it would be repackaging the toothpaste, right? So if we took a fresh approach to all things game design, including GB, your idea around a scaling price per million packs purchased, or 500,000 packs, whatever that looks like, plus the adjustments to game mechanics to really turn the tables back towards the humans. I feel like we could get the community behind, and of course, if all of these things were proven and qualified as effective tools to still provide a fun experience for humans, I feel like we could fairly easily get the community behind the idea of rescinding the bot proposal. I just feel like, every day we're hearing about players giving up and leaving, and I'm so frustrated. And yeah, I think we've kind of reached a little bit of a boiling point where we need to kind of not just take a step back and reconsider what does ranked look like, but what does the game look like? And we were having, and Hep, I hope you're okay with me kind of disclosing this. We were having a conversation off air prior to Mondroid hopping on last week about the whole idea that decentralization was really a cornerstone of the creation of Splinterlands, and that was specifically why Matt Nagy would never come out and say like, no, we're going to ban bots. That's why it came down to the community through Dave McCoy and a couple of other big voices in the community to put forth that proposal to put the ban on bots. And, you know, we were fortunate, and it bought us some time that Matt was willing to embrace the idea with the caveat that it's specific to modern. So I don't know, man. I think the real name of the game for me here at the People's Guild is really just starting the conversation and giving chance for these conversations to kind of get some legs. And there's people in the community that are much smarter than me. Maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but I feel like it feels like if we're able to address the game mechanics, if we're able to address and adjust, I should say, is probably a better verb there, and adjust the pricing of cards and stuff like that, because it's to your point, GB, there's no way that I'm going to be able to go in on another set, the next Rebellion, or even the mini set, as hard as I went in on Chaos Legion and Rebellion. Zero chance. But if those cards are able to continue to maintain value because I'm able to play them longer, and the price is adjusting every 6 weeks or whatever, 500,000 pack sales, that's naturally going to increase the value of my cards as it is. So I just think, yeah, starting this conversation is fantastic, man. I really appreciate your insights and your thoughts, GB. I hope it goes somewhere, man. I feel like the last handful of episodes I feel like we've suddenly got into some really lofty suggested changes within the game, but I feel like in the name of decentralization and Web3, I feel like it's kind of our duty to host these conversations and embrace the idea for fresh perspectives, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And yeah, just to be clear, I love what you guys are doing, and I can get started in the conversation, right? Because I think, okay, like, why would somebody listen to me, for example? Okay, like, I'm a nobody, I'm broke. Just listen to Matt. Like, he's successful in every single metric that you can pick, right? So, but that's my point, I think, and that's what I like what you guys are doing, because it's almost like separating the art from the artist, right? Like, just getting the community involved, like just getting the talk started. Yeah, like that might turn into a proposal. Doesn't matter where it came from, right? Like, then that's what I think it's good. I think if we keep like talking, the best ideas, it's almost like gonna win, right? So, and that's again back at talk about like freedom of speech or about Web3 again, like just to be able to have these conversations freely, like people can say whatever, and then yeah, I think we're gonna reach the right conclusions there. And I'm really happy that you guys are facilitating that in an awesome way.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, we're lucky to be, in this space where we're not just, screaming into the void, where, there is the possibility that, these things amplify and they get heard and action gets taken. It's, either by the team or the community. So, we're lucky that we have the DAO to, be able to put those proposals that the team listens to, and that the team is so engaged with the community that they, they'll listen to what the community has to say as well. So, yeah, it's a really unique kind of space to be in. So, and I'm sure that's probably, I don't know if the other hundreds of games you've played and stuff too was, how is the team? Did they address community feedback? Was there such a strong community, or is that,
No,
now you're shaking your head laughing? I see.
No, but like the other day, like, okay, I'll do like an anti shout out to Mobox, right? Because I had this. If anyone is thinking about playing Mobox, don't. Like, so the other in the beginning of the year, they decided to, again, they're not transparent. Like, you don't know the founders. Again, you don't know their names, you don't know their faces. Which, I mean, so far it's fine. Again, like, in Web3, I think that should be okay. But again, we're still like in this transition period. But yeah, you have nothing. And they like, it's not that the game failed. They had multiple games, like, but one game they say like, oh, we're gonna shut down this game. Let's say like no reason, and like done. Okay, like from one day, like all your assets basically went to zero. Like and again, not much that you can do. And it's not like, oh, okay, like they made some bad decision and the price was quickly declining. Like no, like they only from their side they say like, no, we're gonna shut down the game, and that's it. And a lot of other games, man, like again, this a bunch of is even hard to call a game. Again, is most like some you click one button, it's like a pump and dump scheme, or you're gonna get rug pulled. There are some I think Gala, they're definitely like very open, but they are also again kind of in theory going the right direction in my opinion, but like they're also like suing themselves, and they sold a bunch of stuff that they didn't deliver. There is another game, it's on my list to do like a full deep dive. It's called Cornucopias, and the team also they do, it's basically like a town hall as well. They call like coffee something. Like every week they go and talk about all the changes or their thought behind it. So yeah, Cornucopias. Again, I don't know. It's just on my list to do a full dive, but they definitely had things going for them. But to be honest, like a lot of the times I delay my analysis, because like the first thing I check, like, okay, I check the base structure of the game, right? Like if I think it's a cool game, if they're like trying to at least trying to do Web3, right? But also check back to the beginning, like, okay, what is your stance against bots, right? Like what is your solution against bots? Like go on the Discord and like do like a quick search about like bots and multi accounts, and 100% of the time it's oh, we're gonna ban bots, we're gonna ban multi account. I was like, okay, like I don't see, like, this is something that you guys are gonna need to solve. I mean, normally I don't say, again, like I'm very quiet. I don't comment out there a lot, but I mean, I'm starting to do that now. But yeah, in general, I'm saying like I think there are some good developers out there. They're open, but yeah, like Splinterlands, the best one I know most, again, because like, man, I think I watch like every town hall, like it's almost religiously, like I mean now it's kind of every 2 weeks, right? But before it was like every week. I will like, yeah, I think it's really good to see like what are their vision, like how are they gonna tackle these problems, what are they doing, like I think that's awesome. And yeah, it's so great to be like that transparent, and they're also like open to suggestions. I mean, a lot of the times it doesn't get implemented anyway, but at least they're open. And I think, again, Cornucopias is just one that I know, but all the others, the team is either like anonymous and they vanished and the game died, or again, I don't know, it's just like a weak team, I would say.
Interesting. Okay. Well, man, lots of good food for thought in this one. You know, I think I've got one final question for you, man. So we had Sylar on last summer, and I think we spoke specifically with him and Hep. I think it was you that asked the question around his own aspirations around creating a game. He'd considered it. I think he alluded to some you know, kind of game design, but ultimately kind of abandoned. So GB, have you, number one, spoken personally with Sylar, and number two, do you have any idea with respect to his kind of knowledge, intelligence towards game design? Is there anything there as far as you could tell?
No, I never talked to him at all. I think I watched all of his interviews. I think because, yeah, he did come here. He did go to the Boba Fett Splinterlands 101 as well. But no, I never talked to him directly. I have no idea of, yeah, about like his game design capabilities. No.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be cautiously optimistic with the Sylar hiring. You know, I hope that he's able to kind of pick up the mantle and really make waves in terms of how we're moving forward. You know, we said it kind of periodically throughout the episode, I'll say it one more time as we're kind of wrapping up and embracing the shift to away from the war on drugs approach and more of, how do we recreationalize, how do we adjust the game mechanics, the game design to better empower humans, and seeing. Yeah, I'm very hopeful that we see Sylar on the town hall next week, and he can kind of address a lot of this stuff head on. That said, we said it last week, we said it 2 weeks ago. I think Sylar's got a long road ahead in terms of repairing his reputation and reestablishing trust with the community. And I think things like this that show he's got the best interests of the game and the community in mind first and foremost would go great distances in reestablishing that trust and building bridges. So I'll remain cautiously optimistic and hopeful that that's what the future holds for employee Sylar.
Yeah, it'd be great to get to the next town hall. I mean, it's going to be like a month in between town halls with they took the week off, and just the way it's like since they're doing the 2-week schedule. So yeah, it should be an interesting one next Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, I wish him all the best. I mean, I'm hopeful that he's successful. I'm actually excited to learn a thing or two from him as well. But yeah, hopefully again, it's not just a policing. Maybe I hope I'm wrong. There is some actual like change behind the scene that is gonna happen. But yeah, I'm definitely excited to see.
Yeah. Well, GB, you self-proclaimed introvert and very quiet. Yeah, I was.
We seem to get a lot of these on the show that we never seem to have to fill much dead air with all these introverts you get.
I was gonna say, man, it's like pulling teeth trying to get you to talk, GB. Jeez Louise, man. Yeah, just playing, bro. Great conversation, man. I absolutely appreciate you taking the time to hop on. Yeah, a lot of fun hearing your perspective, and you I think like guys like Yaba have huge aspirations for what Web3 and crypto can do for the world, and the more folks like you that we can have rally in the community throughout Splinterlands, I think ultimately the better off we'll be. So on behalf of everybody, man, appreciate what you're doing, appreciate that you've decided to kind of step out of the shadows and make yourself a more visible presence in Splinterlands, and you've taken it a step further by setting up your YouTube channel. Like I said, I'll post all that stuff in the Peak D article, so folks hopefully give you a nice little bump of attention and pay attention to what you got going over on Games on the Block.
Yeah, so I mean, thanks for having me. But just a final note here on this stepping out of the shadows. I think that's really important because again, it was especially after COVID that I was seeing like how it was going. I was like, okay, I need to do something, and the way I approach things, like in the introverted way, like we're joking. No, I'm more like calculate. I don't know, like I just like when I talk about like moving to Thailand. I think it's a good example, right? It's here, like before I checked, okay, let's move in a gym, like live in a van, bicycle. Okay, move to this country. This like I'll basically like do like this full search, right? Kind of almost like this prototype phase. But then after that, I almost like I'm gonna jump on the deep end of the pool, right? And I think with Web3, that's kind of like what I'm doing again. Like you see, like probably like no one ever heard of me on the Splinterlands and I've been here for like, I don't know, 3-4 years. Because again, I was not commenting, not doing anything. But now I was like, okay, is that exactly what you're gonna do? Like, okay, you're gonna do like Web3, you're gonna focus on this crypto, right? Like, okay, so let's get out of the shadow and go like all in. Yeah, talk with everybody, like do a bunch of projects, like not. I'm really thankful for you guys having me here. So yeah, I can talk about it. Like help spread the ideas and everything. But yeah, you're probably gonna be seeing more from me.
That's awesome. Yeah, we'd love to have you back on, and to hear about your thoughts on Splinterlands and any other projects. So anytime, open door policy here. So feel free to reach out when you got something going on, and we'd love to have you back on.
Sure, we'll do. Thanks again so much. It's an honor to be here.
Wow, Hap, you stole my line, brother. I think that's the first time I haven't had to invite somebody back, man. But yeah,
we're gonna
dude,
give you a
always
break.
will.
Give you a break this week.
Yeah. Cheers, man. All right. Well, GB, yeah, absolute pleasure, dude. Appreciate you taking the time. Another solid episode in the books. Appreciate everybody giving us the time, giving a listen. I hope you enjoyed the show, and you have been listening to
People's Guild.